All right, back more. That was a great intro, Jacob. I caught on the first, the third word. All right, back. No, I was stuck immediately. Cool.
No, keep it in. That's gold.
I'm not leaving that in. I can do. I'm in charge of my own fate, and I can make. I do enough stupid stuff on YouTube and on this show in general. I have to be able to take some of them out.
No, you're ruining the illusion.
You'll just go and show up in the comment section and say, "Hey, everybody, just so you know, Jacob removed the beginning of this where he literally couldn't make it 3 words into the podcast.
He flubbed it super hard, and I'm holding him accountable for it.
I still don't know. I still don't like calling this a podcast because it's just I feel like it's just whatever.
Podcast? Whatever.
I don't know. It's a podcast, but it isn't.
This is a talk cast. This is a talk video on your phone or computer or tablet.
It's unquantifiable. Whatever. It is beyond categorization, the research log. That's what it is.
Perhaps.
And that's why we have such an eclectic mix of things to talk about on today's show.
Oh yeah.
Speaking of, we're going to talk about a few things that we've done recently, including but not limited to. Joey recently played and beat the Final Fantasy VII Remake DLC, the Yuffie quest.
Yep. Also known as Fort Condor Simulator with some bonus action.
We will probably talk about that last, so we can give like a spoiler warning just in case. It's basically a year old now, but who cares? Just in case people don't want FF7 spoilers or FF7 Remake spoilers. Or FF7 Yuffie DLC spoilers. We'll do that last.
I mean, at the end of the day, you can only play it if you've got a PS5.
If you got a PS5. I mean, I watched it because I don't have a PS5.
Yeah, but I mean, a lot of folks, if they're invested and they don't have a PS5, they're not gonna. I mean, some of them will go watch the playthrough online, but a lot of them will just be like, I'll wait.
Honestly, Joey, you have just even with that simple thing, we've segued into honestly one of the first things that I wanted to talk about today, which is the fact that depending on how fast I release this, because I may get this released in the next week, or maybe longer than that. It may be that by the time this releases, a major news story in a world where there are wars happening, video game news, we may see there may be a Final Fantasy 16 trailer in the wild by the time that this releases, possibly. I'm not sure if that's going to happen, but point is, if you're watching this, and a Final Fantasy 16 trailer does exist. We're recording it before it existed, so please forgive us for that blunder.
Please forgive us for not live face cam reacting to the trailer and going, "Oh my god!"
So we will talk a little bit about why that may be happening, and a few other things related to that. Just to kick this off because it's kind of news. So for anybody who needs a recap on this stuff, Final Fantasy 16 was announced in like October or November of 2020.
Like
yeah, it was a while ago now. It was a year and a half ago now. And we haven't really seen it since then.
It was a singular cinematic trailer.
A bunch of stuff has happened. But a bunch of stuff has happened publicly, just not like of a typical exciting marketing nature. Basically, when that trailer was released, they put out a website and they said, and expect to hear more in 2021. Expect to see more in 2021. That didn't really happen. In little bits and pieces and fits and starts throughout 2021, usually at a stream or a panel where Yoko Taro and Yoshi P were both there, and Yoko Taro was probably drunk. Yoshi P, who's the producer of Final Fantasy 16, was pushed on, hey, so what's going on with that? And basically, the reason that we haven't seen much of it was he stated that his approach to the marketing is wanting to show it off much more completely, very close to release. That's the short version. That the trailer that we saw in 2020 was shown pretty much, it was all in-engine, or is all in gameplay. It was basically we wanted to show what we had that looked relatively completed and finished, but we didn't want to show something that was pre-rendered because we knew, especially overseas, we'd get comments like, "Oh boy, I can't wait to play that in 2038."
And who can blame those people at this point?
Yeah, and so basically Yoshi P was talking about with 16 that we can expect to. He was like, I want to be able to. The way I want to be able to show it off is to be able to show such a large quantity of the game, but such a high quality that everybody's reaction will be, I want it now, please. And we will then be able to say, okay, here you go. Basically implying we don't want to do the big media blowout until it's a couple of months away from release, or whatever window is in his mind. But I read that as like less than 6 months, personally.
Yes.
Maybe even closer.
A very strange thing for Square Enix, for sure, but it's something that I can really get behind.
And he's got the kind of power that he can He can do that.
I'm
But
gonna say him more so than a bunch of the other schmucks that Square will be like, no.
yeah, it's really the only people
No, build the
internally
hype.
who are probably
Make
at
the Lamborghini.
the only people in there
sorry,
who could probably
Aldi.
the only people in there who could probably do whatever they want at this point are probably him, a little bit Nomura, and to some extent Yoko Taro. Not that he can do whatever he wants from like a large scale business sense, but that they're kind of just like, yeah, whatever you want, dude, you can, and we're not going to interfere.
They probably just don't like interacting with him.
Yeah, we're not going to come needle your game and nickel and dime it. Or if we are, he's going to be, I put swimsuits in the game, you see? Whatever mobile phone game that was, where he was like, they told me that if I wanted to sell more gacha, I ought to put swimsuits in the game. I did it, but they did not sell well. I do not understand. And it's because it's like diving suits. It's like
big, huge, old-fashioned diving suits.
Yeah, it's like old school 150-year-old.
The only part of your waifu you can see is her face through the mask.
Exactly. I didn't understand why they kept telling me I did it wrong. So I put in more swimsuits, and it didn't work. And they just put in more old-timey diving suits. Anyway. Sorry, that was a tangent, but point being, obviously anything can go on internally. Things that were planned or weren't planned can get changed around, shuffled around. It's entirely possible that there was a pressure on, well, we need to reveal it sooner than that then Yoshi P pushed back against. I want to release it. I want to show it off very close to release, etc., etc. But despite being told we would see more in 2021, we didn't see more in 2021. The only official press release was like December 29th or 30th. It's like right up against the edge. And
just so that they're not liars, technically.
Yeah. And it was basically, hey, everybody, listen. Due to global supply chain issues, among other things, many of our outsourced partners were either not able to deliver their workloads on time, or ultimately were not able to deliver at all, and we had to end those partnerships, dissolved, and we've had to go elsewhere or go internal. And our schedule for the game has been delayed by 6 months. Everything has been pushed back by 6 months, and in turn, the marketing has been pushed back by 6 months. We apologize. We expect to see more in the spring of 2022. And it's important for people to remember that spring doesn't end until like June 25th or something like that. So so
there's a real possibility.
That always read to me as E3.
Yep.
That was always like, it was the E3.
And then E3 was like, no.
And then E3 was canceled since last time that we sat in this room and recorded.
And then I forget exactly what they said. Whatever their statement was, like, made me chuckle. Where it's like, we're not having it this time, so we can be really ready for the next one.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
I just really I think I retweeted it. Somebody did a post of it was Jeff Keighley standing in front of the Expo Center, photoshopped to be bald, and the caption was just "Excellent work, 47."
Yeah, you sent me that.
But anyway, there's still E3 timing. Like the Bethesda, the joint, because they're now jointly, now Bethesda's owned by Xbox. The joint Bethesda and Xbox show is still going to be on like June 10th or whatever day it normally is. No announcements on Sony timing. If they're going to have a show, they'll have something surely. Because isn't God of 5 supposed to come out this year?
I think it's supposed to. Maybe I haven't kept up with it, but it's like they showed off that one trailer a while back, like a year ago or something. I haven't heard a thing about it.
Of course, I was like, hold on, because I was about to make a comment about how God of 4 was always like rolled off the tongue so well, but God of 5 just doesn't. I remember that's because Josh and I have been calling it God of More. That's what we've been calling it. God of 1, God of 2, God of 3, God of 4, and God of More. That's where we're at with that. But anyway, so we can expect with Summer Games Fest timing around then that we're probably going to see Final Fantasy 16 around that timing. Another reason that I was saying a while ago that it was probably going to show up at E3 timing was because another major Square Enix game, Forspoken, was originally going to be releasing on like May 20th or something. It has since been delayed. It's now coming out in October, but it was supposed to be coming out right.
I didn't realize it was supposed to be coming out like soon.
Yeah, it got pushed back, and I was
gonna say that would have felt really early. Not saying that they hadn't, that it was gonna be released too soon, but it's like from the amount of stuff they've shown, it still felt very early because there wasn't any like hands-on display. Like there was extended like gameplay, but it was all very cinematic, like short clips.
Yeah, it feels like something that should have been released immediately after E3, not right before it, unless of course you were planning on showing off another game in a major way during E3.
Right.
But one thing about that I was like, okay, I gotta move to October, and I'm thinking, okay, so with we know that the approximate timing of Final Fantasy 16 was moved back 6 months, and they probably had a general window of when they wanted to announce it compared to when they wanted to release it. And just this week, we got some more news on that. Yoshi P joked about how I've gotten in big trouble with he's like, he basically said, I've gotten multiple testy emails from making like little comments, at other events about, well, this is about where we are. I get testy emails from PR departments about like, listen, man, you can't just be saying that stuff at a Japanese stream, and then it gets translated on Twitter, and it gets poorly translated on Twitter, and I assume that was the nature of the emails.
Yes.
Of like, you're not giving us any warning, we're not running anything here. But basically, he said at a recent interview that I think he was on a stream because there's some kind of FF14 collab with the Nier mobile phone game.
Of course,
yeah, of course,
of course,
of course, right, of course.
Why not?
So. I believe that what happened was he said that the trailer is done, but that most trailers, unless there's a big issue, are done 2 months before they're shown anyway. So that's not a huge surprise. A trailer's done. Game is more or less complete aside from debug and polish. Okay. So which also, like, to be fair, the last, like, if a game's production is going well, the last 5 months is
Correct.
Debug and polish, maybe more, if everything's going well. So that, again, this isn't really like huge news, but the point is it certainly reinforces that it's coming out this year, which feeds into another thing that I said a few weeks ago, which was, if you'll recall, Xenoblade Chronicles 3 was supposed to be releasing in September, and it did not get delayed. It got moved up to July.
Whoa, really?
You didn't see this?
No.
There's a new Xenoblade Chronicles 3 trailer came out a couple weeks ago.
Hasn't there only been like 2 trailers for it? Oh my god.
Xenoblade Chronicles 3 got a new
nuts.
trailer a couple weeks ago, and it got bumped from September to June or July this summer.
I want to believe in that game. I want to believe in that game just from the trailers. I'm not stupid. I'm not naive. But but it's like, I looked at that and I'm like, this seems a lot more in the direction of Xenoblade that I want compared to 2. It's like, I like these designs, and I like the mood, and I like
and I like the main character's design. The main dude, the red jacket looks cool, and even the cat lady has a cool design. But anywho, that led me to a couple of thoughts. Number one, I don't know if you know this, it's now releasing on the same day as like some Digimon game, some Digimon JRPG. So now they're going head to head there. But I thought when I saw that it got bumped up, it's like, okay, but Breath of the Wild 2 is not coming out this year.
No.
Unless there's a Mario game that we don't know about, there wouldn't be an internal product for it to be like competing against, which made me think, I bet they got wind that 16 is coming out in September and did not want to go head to head with that action.
If only the Horizon Zero Dawn devs would, if only they would have that sort of thing.
Well,
that sort of foresight.
To be fair, it's a lot easier when you're a studio like Monolith Soft that is owned by Nintendo, where you don't have to worry about shipping a product to stay solvent.
Yes.
Because like half that team now, maybe half that team is probably maybe working on like DLC or an expansion for Xenoblade Chronicles 3 right now, because I bet it's done, right? It's probably been... Apparently there's been a rumor that it's been done for a while, that it's just been finished. Which, once again,
if all this proves to be true, I would love to see an actual breakdown of the process of that game, because this is virtually unheard of for AAA.
And also, like, keep in mind that a pretty, if that game is finished, then that means everybody in that office is either working on a Xenoblade Chronicles expansion, or Xenoblade Chronicles 4 or whatever, or they're working on Zelda, because a huge chunk of their staff is support staff for Breath of the Wild 2.
Okay.
So it's like, when you're directly owned like that, by a company that has a pretty good amount of money, like having a game that's like, you don't like, okay, but we got to ship this and get some cash in, right? Because they're getting cash in, at least insofar as they're being paid by Nintendo to continue working on Breath of the Wild, even though Breath of the Wild also hasn't shipped. Nintendo just has enough money that they can coast for a little while. But then, or maybe there's just something going on financially where they needed to bump it up, they need the money sooner. Who knows? But regardless, I was like, I feel like September feels like the time. That feels like the window of, if you're announcing it, you're going to show your blowout and reveal the release date for 16 in May or June. That's not that long of a wait. That's like, that 3-month period is exactly like the right length of making sure that the non-FF obsessed people who are like maybe vaguely heard that 16 was announced a year and a half ago, that's enough time to build serious hype for a product,
right?
And to get your pre-order bucks in, right?
Oh, the pre-order bucks, baby.
But it's just something else that I've been thinking about, which was some people were saying that might be, Jacob, that seems like a bad call because Forspoken's coming out in October. Would that not suck the wind out of Forspoken's sales by being a little bit too close, right?
Right.
And I have a couple of thoughts on that. Number one, if it's released like early September, it's more than a month or more distance, it's not that big of a deal.
Right.
Another thing, there's both the pessimistic and optimistic way of looking at that, and I'll start with the pessimistic first because I think it's significantly less likely. And the other one is like just something that I feel like it's going to happen one way or the other. The pessimistic one is me really being a little cynical, which is, for those who don't know, Forspoken is being developed by Luminous team, Luminous Studio. The folks behind it's the Final Fantasy 15 team, basically. Mm-hmm. Probably some major staff shifting around because some people left, some people got shuffled around. Hajime Tabata, who directed 15, is gone. He's not at Square anymore. But it's being developed using Luminous Engine, the engine that was developed for and used for Final Fantasy 15 and nothing else, right?
Yep.
So here's the thing. I understand when 15 came out, there was talk of we don't have plans for another game right now, but this team will keep working on Luminous, and we will eventually do another game of that. And then a little while after 15 came out and announced we are working on a new next gen title in Luminous with an updated version of the engine. Right? I think it's reasonable because we've had a lot of talks on here, just on the show over the years, both just you and me talking about it, and also like videos that I've done talking about 15 of. The tension of we need our own engine. We did it. We need to make the thing here, and not pay licensing fees
for whatever reason.
Yeah, for pride, for stubbornness, for the belief that this will be more financially beneficial because we don't have to pay licensing fees to Epic or whatever, right? For whatever reason. Again, it's worth noting that Unreal 3 didn't have Japanese documentation. That was one of the big problems. That's why a lot of Japanese developers, the big third-party engine wasn't available to Japanese devs during the PS3, Xbox 360 lifespan. Whereas now Unreal 4 has major Japanese support and Epic has Japanese offices, and it seems like Epic is fairly heavily partnered with Square at this point, from the fact that all of their games are coming to Epic Game Store on PC, among other things. FF7 Remake is Epic Game Store, KH Collection is Epic Game Store, etc. So it seems like they have a fairly good partnership with Epic at this point. Though don't expect Final Fantasy characters to show up in Fortnite because they're too busy putting them in First Soldier. In Final Fantasy VII First Soldier.
Yes.
So they're not going to be selling a Cloud skin in Fortnite. You got to come to the other Fortnite to get the Cloud skin. You got to come to Cloud Fortnite for Cloud skin.
Listen, there's plenty of dumb anime stuff in Fortnite already. You don't need your Final Fantasies.
It's true. Lara Croft was in there, but we'll get to Lara Croft maybe later in this discussion. But anyway, I think that it's easy to look at it from the perspective of when the decision was made of, okay, working on multiple projects at the same time with Crystal Tools was what sank that engine in those projects, because they were trying to do 14 versus 13 and 13 all at the same time on Crystal Tools, and then versus 13 got killed, and original 14 was a mess. So they basically said, they wound up, if people may remember this, in like 2014, they announced, hey, so we're switching off of, we're no longer going to be using Luminous for Kingdom Hearts 3. We're switching to Unreal, and they basically had to scrap like a year of work on the game because they had been developing the game in Luminous for like a year time span at that point. You would have to, there's some stuff you'd be able to recycle, but you're going to have to redo, like, I'm not a programmer, but as I understand it, you got to redo most or all of your code in a situation like that. I think it would be easy to go, okay, they felt they needed to put Final Fantasy VII and Kingdom Hearts 3 on Unreal out of necessity in order to not jam up the development of all of these games and not jam up Final Fantasy 15. Mm-hmm. Also, Tetsuya Nomura was directing both of them, and I can't imagine that he has very positive feelings about in-house engines at this point, given his prior experience. I think it's reasonable to think that people at top level in Square said, okay, we're using Unreal right now, but once Luminous is done, once we finished our engine, then we're going back over there, and that's where our energy is going to be, and that's where our games are going to be developed, right? Mm-hmm. I feel like it's safe to bet that was probably at least some of the attitude.
Yes.
And then you go to, okay, but then Kingdom Hearts 3 was pretty good.
Yeah.
we have our problems with it, but like it was a good video game.
Yeah, and like the gameplay of it and the engine problems were not like that was nothing. It felt as a video game, I'm holding the remote, I'm playing the video game. It was beyond competent. It was a good fun time.
Precisely. And then Final Fantasy VII Remake, and we talked about this a bit at the time that it came out, compared to Kingdom Hearts 3, which felt kind of like a really good PlayStation 2 game. Mm-hmm. Final Fantasy VII Remake, and in fleeting moments, felt like a game from the future. Yeah. But the point is, like, and then they also sold really well.
Yes.
So I would think, okay, maybe this. Then you say to yourself, and you got this partnership with Epic internally. Maybe there's not as much of a need to have your own engine, which may mean I wouldn't be surprised if there's some people on the board at Square who are like, do we need to be spending all of this money on a team that is also developing an original engine for games as well? Mm-hmm. And so, like, cynically, what if there were even people internally at Square who don't particularly care if Forspoken does well because they don't want to continue with that division, at least in that nature, right?
So part of your cynical brain is thinking, are they going to pull a Titanfall 2?
Yeah.
Are they going to pull a, not necessarily intentionally kill, but stack the odds against it?
That's a really, really cynical thought, and I don't think that if they're spending that much money, because it's not like it's an external team that they're killing, right? Or the games that they're killing. Especially because in that instance, I think that EA wanted to force a Respawn's game to fail so they could exert more control over Respawn.
Yes.
But so I don't necessarily think that there's a deliberate. Again, my most cynical imagining is picturing a boardroom of 10 guys, and 2 of them are like, I really kind of hope this game doesn't do that well.
Correct.
Right? Not a mass conspiracy, and that is maximum cynicism level, really, for me there. But the other thing that I think is more likely and more optimistic, think about it this way, right? Ask yourself, there's 4 questions in the following order. Do you own a PlayStation 5? Now, Joey does actually own a PlayStation 5.
I do. I wouldn't have if my PlayStation 4 hadn't given up the ghost, and then I immediately got an email from PlayStation being like, hey, you want a PS5? You can get one right here. Just follow this link.
Maybe when you weren't around, Jimmy and Tommy showed up with baseball bats and took out your PS4.
That's absolutely what happened. When the power flickered and I couldn't see, they scampered in and broke my PS4.
So, but for most people, the question, do you own a PS5? I think the vast majority of people will say no. Oh. The install base is not that high yet, even though it's selling incredibly well.
Yeah, but it's like, it doesn't matter. There's not enough products there.
Yes, there are literally not enough units to meet demand right now. The install base is limited.
And it sure doesn't help that the stores that are getting them, a lot of them are refusing to sell individual PS5s. And it's like, I think it was Walmart that was doing a thing where it's like, well, maybe it wasn't Walmart because you'd mentioned the bundle, but a lot of places.
I got an email from GameStop that was PS5 bundles arriving, and I'm not interested. I don't really need a PS5 right now, but I was like, I'll look. I'll see what it is, right? And it was like, and one of the bundles was Horizon Zero Dawn or Horizon Zero, whatever the new one is.
Yeah, Forbidden West.
The Forbidden West. Those names are not good.
They're not.
They're not good. They're not good names. It was Horizon Forbidden West and Gran Turismo 7. And I sent you a text about that, and I was like, I gotta tell you, I don't think there's anything you could do to dissuade me from buying a bundle more than including Gran Turismo 7.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if anybody knows, it's not even like a gross car game. Gran Turismo 7 has aggressive nickel and diming microtransactions of the entire fantasy of I want to drive a fancy sports car in a video game is gone, because now after you spend your $60, you got to spend $100 on the sports car that you want. The whole point of the game is that I can't afford those sports cars, but I want to drive them.
No, but licensing though, no.
Yeah, anyway.
But no, what I was gonna say is I know that there are a few stores that were doing the thing where it's like they get a PS5 in, and it's like, okay, this thing, $500-$600, and it's like, okay, well, we're gonna make a bundle. We're gonna include one game, and we're gonna charge $800 for it. And so it's like, even the ones that are physically accessible, even if they're not in the hands of scalpers, you're still getting scalped.
So before we move on, I need to say on that front, when I texted you that about, I don't know what you can include in a bundle. I don't know what game you can include that would dissuade me from buying a bundle more than GT7. And you texted back like, not great. For me, it would be something like The Show. And then I texted you, said, Joey, this email contains 2 bundles. The other one is Horizon Forbidden West and The Show. But anyway, so it's like, okay, so first of all, install base, not that big, right? Then ask yourself, then second question, would you, if you could get a PS5, because I'm sure there's some people out there who maybe it's like, if I could get one conveniently, if I didn't have to go hunting for it,
yes,
maybe I could go ahead and get one.
There are a lot of people like that. I know 3 people like that right now who are like, I want a PS5, but I'm not going on the hunt for it.
Do you think that those people, or most people, would say, I'm going to buy a PlayStation 5 for Forspoken, a new IP that we haven't seen much of?
Yeah, not really.
Right? Okay, now...
It does look cool, but...
Now, the next 2 questions. Would you buy a PlayStation 5 for Final Fantasy 16?
I'm sure the answer to a lot of people would be a lot higher of a chance of saying yes than for Forspoken.
Now, let's say you buy a PS5 around the time that Final Fantasy 16 launches in September.
And you realize that there are only 5 games for the PS5 at this point.
Would you,
have one.
Would you, after beating Final Fantasy 16, buy Forspoken a month later?
Probably.
I honestly think that moving it back and placing it within a month of Final Fantasy 16 will demonstrably improve its sales. I think it's going to sell way better in October after a September release of Final Fantasy 16 than it would have in May. Because by the time that Final Fantasy 16 came out, it would have been down to $30. And that's when I'm willing to bet that we're going to see, especially because global supply chain stuff is kind of loosening up, though we'll see we'll see how that shakes out in the coming days as we're recording this before Victory Day in Russia, so that situation could heat up really fast over there, and that could freeze a lot of things going on around the world.
A brawl is surely brewing.
But hypothetically speaking, if there are more PS5s in circulation from June to September as well, there are more units in existence, and there's finally a big name IP on the system that's driving people to it. Plus, again, I'm pretty sure God of War is coming out this year. That's actually going to probably do better for Forspoken to place it around that time period. Anyway.
Because it's, like you said, it's one of those things of if they have a shiny new toy, not a lot of things to play on it, then this game that looks vaguely appealing, they're a lot higher.
And if you just bought and played a big Square Enix game that hopefully is pretty good and you enjoyed, well, you're going to go, gee whiz, I like Square Enix games. Right? Even if maybe you didn't for a while, you're going to be feeling pretty positive about the brand. I'll go check in on that new IP that
they're on the up and up. What else have they got?
I guarantee you, when you pop open your box for Final Fantasy, if you buy the actual disc for Final Fantasy 16 in September, the internal jacket, there's going to be a little flyer for Forspoken in there.
I bet so.
Lock it in. It's going to be in there. But yeah, no, they are doing pretty well so far. Again, lately, like I said, even though you and I have problems with Kingdom Hearts 3, it's a good ass video game.
Yes,
there's been a lot of good stuff out of them recently.
I think it's more fun to play than most of the games after 2. Personally,
the hitting the button in 3, even pre-patches, was more fun than hitting the button in Birth by Sleep or DDD. Then post-patches, it's actually. When they did the combat patch around the time the Remind came out and fixed the combos, it was actually a lot better. But anywho, speaking of good things coming out of Square Enix, there are a lot of good things going out the door at Square Enix. Boom! Transition to Square selling off all of its most of its Western properties and studios. Well, so that's the thing. I had to correct him most because I found out a detail of the story that I did not catch initially.
Okay.
So everybody probably has heard by this point, not everybody, most people have probably heard by this point that Square has sold off Crystal Dynamics and Eidos and all or most associated IPs. So they've sold off Tomb Raider, they've sold off Deus Ex, they've sold off Gex.
Oh no!
They've sold off Legacy of Kain, which they did one. I don't know if you even remember. There was a freaking there was a multiplayer game that was supposed to be part of the Legacy of Kain franchise.
Oh, what was it called?
It was the name of the world. I forget what the world of Legacy of Kain is called, but the game was just named after the setting, and it was Legacy of Kain was famous for being a very carefully designed linear narrative experience, but the Square Enix wanted to turn all of its Western studios into games as services, cash machines. So that's what we got.
Nosgoth, is that what it's called? I've never heard of that.
Yeah, because it was a live service game that failed after like 6 months.
Oh man, surely they learned their lesson about live service games.
Well, let's get into it. But before we get into it, I was gonna say, like I said, most, not all, they did retain the rights to some Western IPs. They retained Just Cause and Outriders. And
Outriders did just release, so I guess
the live service game that was unplayable.
Wait, I don't know anything about this.
You don't know about? Okay, so I had a front row seat to this because I watched Pat, sort of formerly of Best Friends, now of Castle Super Beast, Pat Stares At. He was actually pretty excited about that game because before it got aggressively nickel and dimed really close to release, it was kind of a different thing. And that game got... basically, there was a push of like, hey, influencer, play a game in opening week, right?
Yeah, of course.
Nobody could. Because it got Diablo 3'd. The servers were all down for like the first week. No one could get in.
Oh, no.
So everybody who was doing sponsored Outriders streams couldn't play the game. And then I just learned this. I didn't know about this, but this was an instance that Pat talked about, and this happened to a lot of other people. That when there was a big DLC cycle, patch cycle, right?
Yes.
For Outriders, they sent out an email like, "Hey, influencers, would you like to do a paid sponsored stream for our new patch cycle?" And people reached back out and said, "Yeah, sure, I'd love to." And then they said, "Never mind."
What? They said no?
Square said, "Never mind, we're not doing that anymore."
Okay. After
sending out an email saying, "Hey, influencers, wanna do a sponsored stream?"
Get back to us.
Then people said, "Yes, I'm very interested." The replies they got were template. Never mind, we're not doing this anymore. Which is like, I've never heard of that happening.
Because by the time you decide, usually speaking, the time you decide for that, you get everything set up and then you send out the feelers like, "Hey, you want to join in?"
Hold on, I want to double check because what were the other? They held on to a couple of other IPs, but I don't remember what. Hold on a second. Oh, they held on. They still have Life is Strange.
That makes sense.
And they still have Life is Strange. I feel like there was one other thing that they held on to, but I don't recall what it was. But yeah, it was Life is Strange, Just Cause, and Outriders were the main ones. I feel like there was like a fourth nothing one that was funny, but I don't remember what it was now.
It's funny over the years me learning about how Square has hurt various people. And because as we talked about, you had mentioned it's like we'll get into this, but them selling off their IPs, a lot of them, it actually might be good for the IP because it might mean they actually get used when Square wasn't going to. But when I said Square, I told my friend group, I was like, yeah, Square is selling off a bunch of their IPs. The first thing my friend did, he's like, did they sell the Front Mission IP? I was like, no. I just want another game.
Does your friend know that they are doing?
He does.
The re-releases of 1 and 2.
At least they're all very excited about that.
Was he not excited about Left Alive?
I don't know that he knew about Left Alive. He was hurt by Front Mission Evolve, which was...
That was years ago.
Yeah, I know.
I know that's yeah. I mean, I'm not saying that he was wrong to be hurt years ago by that. Just like that. That's my point.
Yeah, exactly.
All these abandoned
I don't
IPs.
know. I have to ask him about that because I only learned about Left Alive recently.
Left Alive, the only actual impact that had was the cover art done by the Metal Gear guy.
To trick you, because
that had more impact than the entire game itself.
Because I watched Matt's Will Happen on it, and he talks about that a lot too. But I think it was a pretty universal reaction because this is to the one that I had, where I go into a store and you're walking by and you're casually looking at the games and you do a double take because you're like, what? Metal Gear Metal Gear Survive again? And because that's the thing, as I saw it and I was like, is that Metal Gear Survive? I don't know what the box art looks like. And it's like Left Alive. I was like, what the hell is this?
Is this an expansion for Survive?
And I flipped it behind. I was like, okay, whatever. And then I put it on the shelf and forgot about it until
you found out it was Front Mission.
Yep. Oh man, what do the Front Mission fans want? The fans of this strategy mecha game, on foot survival.
What
do you mean it didn't sell?
Stealth video game action.
What do you mean it didn't sell well? the fans must really hate Front Mission.
Again, exactly. That's the way it always is. So it's worth noting really quickly before we break into this, a little bit of the history with regards to Square's Western acquisitions. I'm probably going to get some names wrong. I believe the guy's Yoichi Wada was. Well, before we even get into this at all, this was a very me interaction that we had. You texted me like I don't know a week ago or whatever when this news broke, and your message to me was, Jacob, my dear friend who stays in the know, please, oh please, I beg of you to tell me that Square Enix didn't just sell off a bunch of studios and IPs for NFT fun bucks. And then a very lengthy series of text messages from me began with, well, if we want to get technical.
Technically speaking.
Which is very me.
Technically speaking, blockchain was only brought up in passing. It doesn't necessarily mean that Deus Ex is being sold for blockchain fun bucks.
So it's important to note that these studios and IPs were sold to, what are they called? Enforcer Group, Engager Group, and Energizer Group.
Dude, if you would have asked me that without saying the words, I would have been able to tell you. I think it's Enforcer. No,
Sorry.
It's not Enforcer. Dadgummit. And it's not Enhancer, it's not Enforcer. Yeah.
Hold on, double checking.
We're looking.
We're double checking.
It's the people that own Gearbox and Ghost Ship Games.
Oh my god, why is nobody saying? Why
maybe
is nobody saying the name of the group?
Hang on, I'm going a different approach. Let's see.
Go ahead. Yeah, just Google the group that owns instead of me saying Square Enix sells stuff.
We're going to get this right because we're talking about it.
The sort of thing I should have written down. Embracer Group. There we go.
Embracer, that's what it was.
It was more positive.
Yes, Embracer.
It was like I was kept saying like Eraser or Destroyer, but I was like, I know, but it was positive. They were embracing things. But yeah, they also own. They bought THQ Nordic out of bankruptcy, and that was the last time that I heard their names. And they kind of left my short-term memory until this story came up. Which, if nothing else, since they're like a private equity firm or whatever, but they at least own other video game companies who seem to mostly. I mean, like, you know, Gearbox continues to have issues, but that's the fault of Randy and not anybody else probably. THQ has at least shipped a couple of games, and they also own the guys who do Saints Row, which they just haven't released a game lately. They're working on a new one, so you can't really say much about that.
The Embracer Group has their fingers in a lot of pies. Like, I went on the Wikipedia, and I was just scrolling and scrolling, and occasionally...
That's how these types of firms work.
And I was looking, and I was like, oh, I recognize that. Oh, I recognize that. Gearbox.
But anyway... so it's worth noting that Square sold Tomb Raider, Deus Ex, Legacy of Kain, and several studios and other IPs to these guys to the tune of approximately $300 million. And do you remember, Joey, when Rise of the Tomb Raider, the second of the reboot Tomb Raiders, was briefly an Xbox One exclusive? It was a console exclusive for like a year. Do you remember that?
I don't remember that, I didn't really keep up.
Push. The second entry in that trilogy was big time pushed as an Xbox exclusive.
Okay.
When they showed that year at E3, when they had Master Chief and Gears of War up on there, Lara Croft was also there as an Xbox property.
Wow.
Would you like to know how much Microsoft paid for that exclusivity?
How much?
$100 million.
Ooh. Oh, ooh.
So, and they sold all of it for $300 million.
So, and I was gonna,
Embracer.
I didn't, for me not wanting to sound stupid, I wasn't gonna say anything, but when I saw $300 million up there, the thought in my brain, I was like, isn't that a little low? But then I was like, I don't really know how these things work.
They will make that much off of a Tomb Raider game.
Yeah.
Whenever they ship one. I mean, granted, that's also there will be development costs behind the Tomb Raider game, but they'll be out of that hole within one major retail release.
It's like this really feels like we just don't want these anymore.
Like they
just
wanted to get rid of them as fast as possible.
Like, we don't want to deal with this anymore. Somebody take them off our hands.
So here's a little bit of backstory that I told you about before, which is basically that after Square had its kind of bubble period in the late 90s. Of 7 came out, and oh my god, we are now God's gift to the earth. We're no longer competing with Dragon Quest. We've stomped Dragon Quest into the ground, and we are now going to take on the world, right? This led to a period of what we might call a high level of hubris, which concluded with the creation and closure of Square Pictures and Spirits Within.
Oh no!
So despite
Despite
the fact that some games around this time period sold very well, like 10 sold really well, Kingdom Hearts sold really well, they hadn't quite hit FF7 levels, and because I think Final Fantasy VIII sold a little bit less than FF7, or a good bit, like a couple million less, and then 9 sold like half of what 8 sold. And then they lost a lot of money on their venture into movies. So Wada was the CEO or president or whatever of Square during the aughts, basically. And his focus on a lot of revitalizing the business and fixing things up and restoring things was to focus on Western acquisitions. So in the late aughts, they bought Crystal Dynamics, they bought Eidos, and he focused a lot of attention and a lot of, as I understand it, kind of his personal passion into those studios. He took a lot of trips to the States to meet with those guys and gave them a decent amount of leeway on what they were doing. It was very encouraging towards them, and they got the budgets that they needed to be able to do stuff. Not necessarily always a positive thing that they got the budgets they needed to do stuff, but we'll back up to that in a second. The problem was that there was always a bit of resistance within Square towards these other properties, and probably it wouldn't be, I don't think, this is more hearsay, but it's been hearsaid a lot by other people that there was at some level resentment or jealousy internally, because it's worth remembering that while Deus Ex was in development and Tomb Raider was shipping and whatnot, they were dealing with Crystal tools not working.
Yes.
Because what I want to say, Deus Ex was like a 2010 game. Mankind Divided.
Which one? I was about to say
Human Revolution.
Yeah.
The first Jensen one. That was 2011. Yeah. So that came out, a year and a half after Final Fantasy 13. Mm-hmm. And they had other stuff come out around that time period. And I want to say Tomb Raider was also around the same time. The Tomb Raider reboot.
Which one?
The first one. No, just the one that was just called Tomb Raider. 2013. Okay, I knew they were all kind of like after 2010.
All right.
But here's the problem. Around the time that those games came out, Wada was out. I forget exactly what year he was out, but he was out around that time. Because to be fair, there was still a lot of issues within Square Enix, and the new guys who've come in since then, I don't remember the new CEO president's name. I know CEO and president are two different things. I just don't remember which position I'm talking about in this instance. I forget which one they were. I believe president. The new president has been very focused on restoring the Japanese end of the business, which, to be fair, it needed, and it wasn't really getting done. But I think there's been a general sense of now we've inherited these studios. This wasn't necessarily what we were interested in doing.
Right.
This isn't our focus and our end of the business. This is something that we've inherited from our predecessor. And there's been a lot of jokes over the years about how Square always says that these games don't meet expectations. Mm-hmm. Tomb Raider didn't meet expectations, even though it sold like 4 million units, right? All these games never meet our sales expectations. And everybody always says, like, well, what did they expect? Like Call of Duty sales? Like, these games are selling very respectably. The problem that people often overlook is not just raw sales numbers, it's profit margins, because the budgets were expecting a much greater yield. Because the original Tomb Raider, not original, the fucking original reboot of... Yeah.
It's so easy, dude.
I hate this crap, dude. New reboot Tomb Raider crap.
Nintendo, the new Tomb Raider.
The new Tomb Raider, yes. The DLC is coming to the Tomb Raider video game. We were talking about this before. I hate the people who the voiceover in Nintendo Directs. They talk about video games like they think all video games are called the Nintendo. Like
they talk like they're talking to your parents.
The DLC is coming to the Nintendo Switch sports game. Stop.
just say Super Pooper Scooper 2 is getting DLC.
Precisely. Anyway, but the budget on Tomb Raider, I don't remember the numbers, but like it's something like doubled during its development. Like it was originally like the production on that. The philosophy was like, for every 50 million we add, we'll make another 100 million.
Right.
Which is like, no.
That's not how that works.
No. But
maybe up to the first 50 million, but
yeah, at a certain point you just hit a level of this is what the game is going to sell, and this is what people are going to be interested in, and it doesn't matter how good the game looks and how many teraflops and whatever else.
Doesn't matter how high fidelity that rock is.
But these are people who are still functioning on the mentality of, well, do you remember when we sold Final Fantasy VII and all the trailers were just fraudulent because they were all the FMVs.
Yeah.
And we were like, this is this movie. You look at this thing, man. It looks like a movie, and it's on the PlayStation.
It looks so good.
And it was just like,
yeah,
it was a lie.
Look at Tifa, she's so sexy.
It was basically a lie. Sure, it's in the game. It's in there. But
pioneering the bullshot.
Yeah. It was in the game. It was in you could, in fact, if you purchased the game, see all the stuff that was in the trailers. In fact, you saw most of it in the trailers.
Please be excited.
But you have issues with them pumping so much money into these studios because they in order to try and yield greater returns, and it not working because they didn't have an understanding of what was being developed. And I don't want to say whether it was Square or people in the States or who, because there's also a lot of like management at the state side has also been in and out over the last 15 years.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different angles that these decisions can possibly be coming from. Though surely in order to be able to spend that quantity of money, you're getting at least approval from your parent company. Mm-hmm. And then they go, well, it didn't meet our expectations. Either that was what they wanted, or somebody down below them was saying to them, we need this kind of cash to be able to get this kind of yield, and it wasn't what happened. And let's all keep in mind that last year, Crystal Dynamics released The Avengers.
Yeah.
Was that last year or year before last?
I think it was year before last.
Time has completely...
Time is convoluted in the land of Faramazula.
Life is becoming more and more like the Salvador Dali painting. It's actually called Time.
I hate how often I will say something to a friend. It's like, yeah, I did this yesterday, and I was like, wait, no, that was 3 days ago. Yeah, no,
we are like that painting, the Salvador Dali painting where the clocks are like melting on things is like it's becoming
real.
It's no longer just yes, very interesting. It's like I understand.
Now. I not only do I understand, but I resonate with it on an emotional level.
Anywho, with the Avengers game, it was stated several times, like 5 months after its release even, that it had not even recouped its development costs.
Yeah.
It had yet to turn a profit, period. Because there was this focus, and still is a focus, we can observe very clearly within Square on games as service, which you and I have talked a lot about.
I don't understand their insistence on it.
Because, Joey, the potential.
They look at 14 and go, look, while ignoring the corpse pile beside it of all these other stupid ass live service games they keep trying to pump out.
Well, Joey, when Final Fantasy 14 is making all the money in the world, it is the most profitable game product that Square is associated with by probably a pretty wide margin, I would imagine. When you're making that kind of money, you can lose some money trying to make another one. But Joey, think about it this way.
No, I'm thinking about it.
If you lose a little bit of money, but it's still making money, you can lose like half that money. But if along the way of losing half that money, you make another one, well, then you're going to double your money.
But here's the thing, and this is more with live service games than it is with any other one, is it's like the Mario come out, as Nintendo would say, the Mario comes out.
The new Super Mario Bros.
Super Mario Bros. And it's like, it's a platformer, and oh my god, it's a 10-hour platformer, and you're like, okay, we want to get in on the platformer market. It's like, give the Mario enough time, and that audience isn't playing the Mario anymore. Mm-hmm. Live service games are not like that, because inherently they're still playing it. So If you're wanting somebody, Joe Schmo, for the most part, is not going to be playing 14 and your live service game. They're going to play either or. Mm-hmm. So
Yes.
it's like,
which is why why nobody could kill WoW for years, because you
have to pull the active audience away from it.
Yeah, it's like, okay, I want to go try this other game, but all my friends are still playing WoW and I can't convince them to jump ship, so I'll play that other game for a couple months, then I'm going to go back to WoW where all my friends are.
It's like, I'm sitting here playing Mario Sunshine. It's like, that was fun. I've been playing it, for 3 months now. Sonic comes out. Oh, okay, I'm willing to try something new because it's not actively engaging constantly, and that's the whole point of live service games. And they're trying. It's like, the thing is, even if they make this second successful live service game, all it means is the audience, like, right, not Squaring, it's 14's, player base is here, and then it will drop and the other one will go up. That's the only way that could work. And then
unless they're completely different genres, like Chocobo GP kart racing, dude. Did you see any of the dipshit?
I hear stuff about that stupid crap.
And so the in-game currency timed out. They're patching that out, but it used to be that any currency you did earn in-game without spending money would time out after a month. So if you wanted to grind and buy some,
you'd have to grind it within a month.
You have to grind it up within a month to make your in-game purchase.
But
that game has like 5 tracks. It's a kart racer with like 5 tracks in it.
Yeah. Oh, yuck. But it's like, I think maybe the reason they don't get it, I say they don't get it as if I'm an expert, but it's like, I guess with live service, aside from MMOs, this is the first time that this actually has been this sort of problem. Whereas before, it's like, we make a game, we want to make another game as successful. It's like, you're not detracting from that one game, but with live service, you absolutely are.
Well, an MMO is so big that most companies cannot afford to sustain additional games while maintaining the scale of an MMO.
Correct.
Right? Which is why it's really only companies like Blizzard or Square that have that kind of bandwidth.
Mm-hmm.
And the games as service thing, obviously, people have been attempting to do it since they could put internet into console games and things that weren't MMOs and whatever. But it's worth noting that the model still hasn't really worked. I mean, Destiny kind of worked.
Destiny is the most successful one, and it's only moderately successful.
Yeah, and people kind of hate it. Even people who like Destiny. People who like Destiny, their favorite pastime is complaining about Destiny.
Yeah.
Where'd this thing that I bought go, Bungie? Where'd it go? Did you see people were talking about the new season of Halo? Hey, where'd that Warthog skin that I bought with real money go?
No, I haven't heard of this.
Where'd it go? Where'd the teal Warthog skin that I bought with cash money, why is it not in the menu anymore, 343, in the new season?
Well, first off, I didn't even know they released a new season because
because people don't have the bandwidth to care about this kind of stuff that length of time.
Well, in Halo's case as well, the thing that really shocked me is like it came out and I was like, oh, this is very popular. I can't play the game, but people seem pretty pumped about this. And then as of 2 weeks ago, I was watching somebody on Twitch play a demo for a game. For Gundam Evolution. It's a Gundam Overwatch-like that looks way more fun than Overwatch 2. But anyway, they were talking about Halo, and they were like, yeah, this one beta already has more maps and game modes than Halo does. And it's like, yeah, well, they still haven't added anything to it. It's like, wait, what do you mean? It's been out for months.
Yeah.
And then I looked, I was like, oh my god, it's still in the state that it was released.
They cycled in a few new game modes, but they went away after 2 weeks or whatever because seasonal content.
That's nuts because it was so popular, and it's a Halo game.
Yeah, and it got delayed by 2 years.
What?
And it came, and it's still not finished.
Who did this? Joe Microsoft. Why did you do this? Why did you had something good going and you just drove it into the wall?
And that's like all of these games. It's okay. So here's the thing: if you buy and play 14, right?
Yes.
You pay a subscription fee, and there is a cash shop. You can spend money in-game. But once you pay the cash fee, it is possible to go your entire time in the game and never, ever see a prompt of hey, give me money.
Correct.
Right? It's like okay, whatever. Hey, new Halo's fun, right? The second the match ends, the filth is there perpetually. You know what I mean?
Buy the cat girl ears for $10. Spartan.
Every inch of the multiplayer game that is not I am currently shooting the gun is gross. Every inch of Avengers even once you even in it, like when you were running around punching things felt gross. Because in Avengers, there's the perpetual always online stuff and the other player characters, and you're like seeing skins that don't look that good but stand out and pops about your currency.
I was going to say, it's like you defeat a few guys and then it's like, oh, I got the XP, got to go upgrade my stuff in the menu, and it pops up and you see all this crap.
Right, exactly. And it's like the you know, Destiny is similarly infected with this stuff. They tried to make some of it naturalistic because it's like a hub that you walk around and whatever.
They fixed some of it,
but you know, how often are you opening your menu and looking at all this crap in boxes that's tinted purple and blue and orange and whatever for its quality level? And it's like every single one, like none of that's fun. Even if you like those games,
it's not fun.
Even if you're really into those games,
even if you like the games, it's a chore.
It's like going into those menus is not enjoyable. That is the unifying design element of all of these games. Like, that's what's driving all of them.
And before anybody on here goes, well, yeah, it's opening a menu. What menus are fun? Persona 5. Persona 5, even Strikers, it's like, it's not as clean, but now there's extra like animations where you're seeing the crew like go behind walls and stuff in your menu just as like flavor. It's like, yeah, that's fun. That's neat.
I mean, we've talked about how like
it's not even just a UI thing at this point. It's also the implications.
It's because of the implications. It's that every time you open it up, you feel like the game's trying to get something out of you. That every time, like even Star Wars Battlefront 2, which again I talked about in the last podcast I've been playing, which is all of its filth was stripped out but
the skeleton is still there.
But you
the skeleton of the filth remains.
Every time you open it up, it's like there's nothing in those menus that is not soul sucking. Of the meters of like score 50,000 points as Captain Phasma, and it's like some really random it's not 50,000, it's like 527,352. It's like what why that and then you got these freaking cards that turn over, and like, do you remember what it's? I know you haven't touched that game in forever. Do you remember, like, okay, I want to upgrade this, like these unlockables for this character, right? Let's say
in what?
Like in Battlefront 2.
Battlefront 2,
I want to give my character. I've been playing as one of these characters in co-op to grind out points because you get points. The most points.
I think I know where you're going with this, and I'm 100% with you.
I want to. Okay, I got this new ability, and I want to buy it.
I want to get the explosive shots for my heavy gunner.
I want to buy it, and I want to upgrade it. Right. How long does that process take?
That process is you tab over to your characters, you select the character, you go to like the ability thing, and you find the ability card or whatever, and you spend the point. And if I remember, for some of it, I think you could unlock immediately, but a lot of it was like, unlock the thing. Okay, go back to the main menu, open up the loot box.
They fixed that since.
Did they?
That doesn't happen anymore.
Oh my god.
That doesn't happen anymore.
Wow, that's impressive. After how many years has it been? 3, 4? They finally changed it.
But the real problem, so now the way that it works is like you go in and you go, okay, here's the card that I want, right?
Yes.
So you hit a button. So they should like to run through. You hit a button to purchase the thing, right?
Yes.
And then there's an animation of it. Like, so are you sure? You say yes. It goes, whoop, toom. Okay, you purchased it. Great. Okay, great. Now I need to upgrade it. Are you sure you want to upgrade? Yes. Whoop, toom. You got to sit through that animation like 5 times. Just let me hit the button.
Let me press the upgrade button, and it says how much do you want to upgrade, and you slide it.
Okay, so you know how long getting into a match in that game takes. It's like it's miserable, right? And like even once you're in a match, if it's populated, it says okay, match starting in 60 seconds, right?
Yes.
Okay. If I want to change my loadout in Battlefront, I don't have time in 60 seconds to do that. No. If I want to completely create a new class in Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 in the 30 seconds between matches, I can do
that easily. Damn, I could really use a shotgun class. All right, shotgun attachment, pistol, perk, grenade. Okay. Let's rock and roll, baby.
Yeah, exactly, right? You can do that. It's just why is it infected by all this filth? It's trying to make me think that it's fun. It's like going to school. Look, see, you're gonna have fun, right? No, I'm not.
I mean, in MW2, it's like I just started using the UMP. Oh, sick! I unlocked the suppressor for it. Immediately goes and equips suppressor. All right, I got 20 seconds left.
I can complete that process in a lagless, no delay menu.
Oh my god!
With
and
no animations in 5 seconds if I'm good enough at menuing. Done.
Battlefield is notorious for this as well. It's like why do the menu lag so bad in this? Where it's like this was not a problem in the earlier days.
And this is why building your games around menuing is miserable. And because you're the whole time that there is another design, there's another way you're supposed to be playing this that you're not, and you're not earning points for playing the game the way that you want to play it. You're earning points for meeting your weekly objectives in Halo.
You want to know
miserable.
You want to know what a damn good feeling is?
What?
When you can press start and you can tab over and get to where you need to before the menu even opens.
Yeah.
Where it's like, but it's like with a game like Battlefield, it's like you press it and you wait a second or two for the menu to pop up, and then it like settles into place, and then you have control. It's like, I like being able to just, it's like, oh, okay, I know, I've played this enough. I know start down, X, down, right, X. And it's like, I'm where I need to be immediately.
But you have...
We sound like old men right now because we're reminiscing about the good old days of simple menu UI of all things to be complaining about.
But it's everywhere now. And I mean, and things are always, everything was always better in back in
the day.
You always say, oh yeah, we should just go back. And there's plenty of things now that are better than things used to be. But like and you can make an argument that it's pretty funny that if you were to boot up a currently offline Xbox 360 game, like if you were to go and take your copy of Assassin's Creed 2 that's sitting on your shelf and stick it in your Xbox 360, the menu would have a prompt talking about Microsoft points on it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, but like, so there's all kinds
You're
of...
offline, be sure to connect to Ubisoft.
There's always crap, right?
Yeah.
Like it's the problem is that everybody said this is the new model. This is how we're gonna make money because game development is getting extremely expensive.
Yes.
And we need to make more money. And it's very funny that like the biggest success story in that realm right now is probably Final Fantasy XIV, which is using a model from the 90s. Because like MMOs have functioned on a monthly subscription and maybe some in-game purchases. That's been the model for a really long time, and it didn't become a monster success at launch. It was a functional, obviously it was a complete travesty at original launch, but a Realm Reborn launch too. The fixed version launch. Original 14 is a completely different game. They're not even the same thing, despite the fact that there's still monkey code in there apparently causing the game to crash during the Endwalker launch. But
it's like the stuff where you see with like Team Fortress 2, where it's like we found a file of a coconut, a JPEG of a coconut, and I tried to remove it and it made the game crash, and
I saw a meme that was it was two screenshots. It was a screenshot of like the cast of Overwatch and one word adjectives to describe each of them.
Yes.
And then a screenshot of the cast of Team Fortress 2, and it was all just psycho. Or unhinged, something like that, right?
There's an image that I find, or it's a short video I find really funny, where it's Scout staring at like a soft foam Insane Asylum wall, and it's just all of his laughs like played one after another, like sped up slightly.
But like you have 14, and like it was 14 again. If I say 14, I'm talking about new 14. Like A Realm Reborn launched and was like a competitive, pretty good MMO with a lot of problems, right? That game was not as good or better than, even as WoW was declining. It was not like, oh no, this is just like the superior product until probably like Stormblood timing. But then it hit that, and the tide started to turn, and the numbers started to go up. And now we're at Endwalker, right? And that's 6.1, 6.2. But that's like a 10-year journey basically for that game to get to where it is, right?
Yes.
That's what games as a service is. That is launching something that is good enough at launch to pull people in, and that is, with that monthly subscription fee, continues to support itself, where you're paying that monthly fee because you are getting the equivalent. You're getting $30 worth of content a month is the promise, right?
Yes.
That's what you're paying for. You're not paying for a game that sits there for an ambiguous amount of time with weird, demanding content and dailies and just stuff that isn't fun to interact with. 14 is just like a fun video game to turn on and play. And stuff is always put in. And if it's not, then it's like, hey, drop your sub. They just say do it.
Yeah.
Drop your sub. Who cares?
Exactly.
Play something else.
Come back when we release something that you think is substantial enough.
But it's like if you want to buy that 100,000 credit skin in Battlefront sometime in the next 2 months without spending real money, well, you got to play like a lot. Because the only efficient way to do that is to clear character challenges or to do dailies, among other things.
Dailies are if I was God.
Dailies would be
if
eliminated.
I was God, I would eliminate dailies. They're soul sucking.
I know, right? And I really do long for the days of like, you know what? I'm just gonna turn on Call of Duty and I'm just gonna play a match. And maybe I'll use a gun I haven't used before and then lock something for it. But you know what? If not, I'll just play the match and I'll just do well in the match. I'll just have fun, right? This is only tangentially related. But with the release of Overwatch 2 beta, Donkey I think I sent you Donkey's video on Overwatch 2 beta. It reminds me of a Stevie Wonder song. That song is, "You ain't done nothing." Listen, what the hell kind of scam you trying to pull here? But I went back and watched, because he did a bunch of Overwatch videos back in the day.
Yeah.
And the temperature between his Overwatch beta videos and Overwatch post-launch videos is completely different. Because, like, the joke in all of the post-watch videos is people going, I don't really think that we need a Hanzo. Yo, you think you could switch to... can somebody switch to Reinhardt or what? Like that, yeah. They just toxic. Like play the game right?
Yes.
All the beta videos are like, let's do a team of all Winstons, and just everybody's having a good time.
And then later on they removed the ability to even do that, where it's like you can't even duplicate characters, which I'm a little mixed on that, because it's like it sucks that they did that, but the one thing, because I played Overwatch a lot, and it was like. By the way, I bring this up partially because it's tangentially relevant, because Overwatch is certainly qualifies as games as service. Yeah, the only thing I'll say is it's like virtually every character is like, we're going to play all this one character was fun until one character, which even in his video, he talks about Symmetra. Like, Symmetra's still boring to play because she got her kit reworked a million times and buried. But it's like, the problem was when you had a full team of them, it's like pure defense, and so you had all these turrets that slow all over the place, and it's like, it's like you can't you can't win.
You can't push into that.
If the defense is that, it's impossible to break. But no, it's like beta was extremely fun. Base game was still fun, I would argue. But then as time went on and they really started pushing I think it was the esports push that really did it. But it's like they nerfed like the fun out of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's okay.
Probably honestly a good thing that Valve isn't patching Team Fortress 2. Everybody's always like the tiers of last patch was 6 years ago, whatever.
But people are still playing it.
Yeah.
Look at how much they patched Overwatch.
Yeah.
And it's like, people don't want to play that anymore.
They just released a new patch.
Why are you giving me that look?
Because I'm making a joke about Overwatch 2. There's a new patch in beta right now.
I mean, it's like I told you when I was watching the video, it took me like 3 minutes into the video to realize it was Overwatch 2 footage and not Overwatch 1, because it's just the same as it ever was. Same as it ever was.
And there's a new Diablo coming to phones.
Oh, but get on Overwatch and play your 3 missions of the day so you can get your daily loot box. It's so fun. Dailies are so fun. I love dailies.
Imagine if you got a new map every 2 months instead.
No.
No, I'm saying imagine.
No,
imagine.
I won't imagine, because then it would make me sad. Actually, no, I say it would make me sad. I don't care about that game anymore.
Sure.
It's like,
I'm saying with all these games.
I know.
Right?
It's
if
like,
the
what
content was that, if that was what you were, and you were paying a subscription fee or whatever.
Yeah. It's like what if the money being put in reflected in the game in some way?
Yeah.
What if they were actively trying to keep your attention?
But honestly, it's probably because a lot of these games aren't making enough money to be built like that. Like I think about how much money was the Division actually making on a week by week basis.
No,
right?
I 100% agree with you. But here lies the
problem with games as service.
This was your intention. You can't just put the game out and then be like, well, just give me the money, though. We're not going to keep adding stuff. We're not going to actively keep your attention in any capacity. No, but no, listen, we're not going to give you maps. We're not going to give you characters, but you got to log on so you can get your daily. You got to do your 3 challenges so you get your bonus from your 4th. You get a bonus for the completion of them. That's like 4 challenges.
It really is soul sucking. Like, I mean, I would love to. Like I said, I play Battlefront 2 because it's an easy time wasting multiplayer thing that I've just been doing lately. And it's like I don't want I wish I could just install I could reinstall Titanfall 2, but I think the servers are still messed up.
I think honestly this I hadn't even thought about it this way, but I think this conversation that we're having is why I've been so big into Deep Rock Galactic recently. Yeah, because it's like it's co-op multiplayer. It's not versus multiplayer, but it's generally an all online thing. But it's like there's no dailies, there's no thing for logging in. The closest thing is once a week. It's like there's a new weekly mission, or not weekly mission. It's like there are these things called deep dives, which are because the game it's randomly generated environments. It's like every week there is a set of 3 of these, and it's the same for every person, for every player. Go challenge it, and if you're able to beat all 3 of them, you get a cosmetic, you get a thing. But it's like there's no me getting on being like, oh man, yeah, no, I gotta get my daily. I have to at least get on the game because I gotta get my daily login. Yeah. Because if I do that for 7 days in a row, I get a scrimly bob for my dwarf. It's like I get a better gun, bigger stats. The rarity of it's identical to the one I have now, but mine's green rarity and it's blue rarity. There's none of that crap. But it's just I feel good. I want to play as a damn dwarf. I want to go mining.
It's very apparent we got onto some of this. We were talking about Square. Like, it's very apparent that Square was trying to shove this stuff into their Western studios. Nosgoth was their only attempt at doing anything with the Legacy of Kain franchise.
Yep.
Right.
And it's all this.
Nobody even remembers the original Tomb Raider reboot had multiplayer. No. The next 2, Rise of and Shadow of, did not because nobody played the first one. I was reminded that Zachary Levi was a playable character in Tomb Raider multiplayer. You could unlock the actor Zachary Levi just in a T-shirt that said "nerd."
That's I wish it just said he had a hat that says "gamer." It's
basically just weird places to spend money on this, but and people also don't remember this.
I'm sure that really got people into it. The promise. Because
this is money well spent.
I'm sorry, it's just registering. It's like it's 100% that somebody at Square is like, get him in the game because this will sell it.
Exactly.
It's like, oh my god. Oh my god.
Another $20 million for he probably wasn't that much. He's not that expensive. He's not that big of a deal. But they spent $500,000 or whatever on his likeness.
$500,000 you can get Tay in your game.
Now Tane I can get into. I have a new beta program for you, Paul. It's called Tane.
I mean...
now Tane I can get into.
We're joking about this. That's kind of how Fortnite is, but Fortnite was a real-ass game before...
I always forget about Fortnite. That's a success. Fortnite is a success of games as service. But that's an example of how much new content does that thing get on a monthly basis.
What's its season on right now? It's like
no
7
idea.
or 8 or some crap.
Right now they're doing it's the no build season, which everybody's really freaked out about because it's just like a normal video game without people spam towering their way up to the sky when they get hit.
I don't know how true it is, but from what I've heard from people that have played it, they say that the reason it's so popular right now is because without all the building stuff, regular people that are actually competent at games just hop in. It's like, oh, I'm just gonna beat these kids' asses.
Beat these kids' asses. It's like because all they know is the muscle memory of spamming a tower.
All kids born after 2000 know is build tower when shot.
McDonald twerk, charge they phone, build tower after shot. Eat hot chip.
Eat hot chip and die.
and die when I bip him with my sniper. That video that I sent you of the person like they tag a Fortnite kid in the leg with an assault rifle.
Yeah, they
do an emote of sitting in a chair.
They actively don't shoot the person. Like, they don't shoot to do damage.
Goes up. The kid spam builds the tower because they got tickled by a bullet from like an assault rifle that does almost no damage. They spam build the tower. The person edits in the Lego building sound effect from the Lego games. And then as they get up to the top, the guy gets out of his lawn chair, picks up a sniper rifle, and just
domes them.
The outmaneuvered kid. I did a stream where I finished up watching that stupid Kingdom Hearts video I made last week.
Yeah.
And I was talking about like the level design of Kingdom Hearts 3 and they've talked about, and this is something that I respect, of we designed Kingdom Hearts to be a game that anybody can play. And like I get that. And that's why you have the situation commands in Kingdom Hearts 3 instead of menuing. That's why team attacks are random. That's why the attractions are there, because in their mind it's like, oh man, even 6-year-old kid will hit triangle and do big damage and have fun and wow, look at the pretty lights, right? Mm-hmm. And it's like, okay, I get that. I understand your mentality, right? But then I was talking about how the level design of the game suffers because of the focus on the new movement abilities of like, okay, well, if you're not there's no reaction commands and there's no mini games, right? Because with reaction commands in Kingdom Hearts 2, you were able to construct these kind of unique combat scenarios or do like contextual actions that you would be changing what you were doing in combat, in environments, and you would be doing almost every world in Kingdom Hearts 2 had some kind of, if it wasn't a literal mini game, it was some kind of like themed battle where you're doing something different, where you had the objective was mixed up somehow, right? And it's like all of Kingdom Hearts 3 is walk forward, fight, walk forward, fight, walk forward, fight, right? So it's like all you have in that game are walk forward, fight worlds, which are Tangled World and Frozen World. Tangled. I'll get to Frozen World 2, but I'll get back to that in a second. Tangled World and Monsters Incorporated World are both just long hallways where you walk forward and fight, right? Yes. Then you have worlds where it's like, okay, central gimmick, Toy Story World, you're in a mech the entire time. Pirates World, pirate ship the entire time, right? And collecting crabs. And then what are the other 3 remaining ones, which are Olympus and Arendelle and that is to say Frozen World and Big Hero 6 World, right? Well, you can run up walls in this game. So let's do 2 worlds about scaling mountains and another world that's like a big GTA map where you can run up all the buildings, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, the running up walls in Kingdom Hearts 3 is anti-level design. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like that actually, that is not enriching the level. That is deleting interactions. That's deleting what could have been platforming or puzzle solving. It is making the act of, oh wow, there's a mountain that I have to climb, the same as walking forward. Yes, so, because you literally do. The mountain in front of you climb it by walking forward, and then you walk forward on the mountain. Yeah, so I say that that Arendelle isn't walk through hallway, fight monster, walk through hallway, because look, the mix-up is you go up, you walk up, you're climbing the mountain, right? So it's not the same. It is the same thing. It is the same thing. Mm-hmm. And it's like even Kingdom Hearts 2, whose level design was bare bones, basic, simple. We bitched about that a lot in the Kingdom Hearts 2 playthrough. But that meant that each room was small and focused on fulfilling one exact thing and looking a particular way. And there was these enemy encounters in it. And there would be a minigame somewhere as well in that setting, right? Whereas like every single room in Frozen World in KH3 looks identical. Mm-hmm. Like from minute 1 to the ending of that game, you're looking at the exact same thing. And very similarly with Tangled, where like other than a brief sojourn through like you're in woods, you're in slightly spookier looking woods with water, or you're in rocky area with woods, and then the town at the end, which you're in for 20 seconds if you don't explore. Mm-hmm. If you walk straight to the dance minigame, you're there for 20 seconds. Yeah. Right? Like anyway, but I bring all this up because it's like, okay, in that game, you say to yourself, maybe they should have cut like 2 worlds and made the mech more fun and made the pirate ship more involved, added another 10 islands to pirate ship land and gotten rid of running up straight up walls, and actually put platforming in the game. Made the pirate ship combat not just, oh, there's the glowy weak point that you shoot and it's over, right? Made it a bit more involved.
I mean, even doing the Sonic Adventure 1, like the pad jumping makes it more involved, even though when it's functionally the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, like literally, we talked about
how you can get up to buildings that way, and then have platforming to get from A to B.
Yeah,
and if you fall down, you got to start back.
Even though the level design of Dream Drop Distance seems to be unaware of the fact that flow motion existed, getting like flow motion was still fun to use.
It was.
Like, it was just fun to jump around, like running straight up a wall. And then you also have like the fact that Sora can like do his little shot lock thing and lock onto a point and warp somewhere. So like the entire, I think about like the Big Hero 6 world. I have to imagine the thought process on that was like, oh man, we're gonna build this big city like Grand Theft Auto. And we're gonna show that we're capable of building this, right? Well, in Grand Theft Auto, typically like part of the fun is navigating. Like, that's the fun of Grand Theft Auto is I'm going to get in a car and I'm going to drive faster than I should and probably wreck a couple of times on accident and fall over the side of a freeway. Like, that's the fun of Grand Theft Auto. Like, the movement in 3 isn't
I was going
fun.
to say, without any sort of navigation problems, you might as well just be playing that Unreal 5, like, Matrix.
The tech demo,
demo, where it's like, you can talk as a person, but if you want to, just fly around the city.
Like Neo, yeah. It's like, because like what are the fastest ways to move in Kingdom Hearts 3, right? Shoot a blizzard spell and rail grind, which is actively deleting gameplay. Run up a wall, which is the same as walking forward. Or better yet, half the buildings in that city, you can look up and warp to the edge of the top of the building.
The thing is, at least with Blizzard, it's like, it feels like fun involved tech because you're actually actively doing something to do it. But otherwise, it's like... Oh, but most of the time, because I've watched speedruns for it and whatnot, it's like, don't really do that, because why would you when you can just shot lock?
When you can just shot lock to the top of the building and be where you need to be. And warp, and they know which buildings to go. They can get, I assume speedrunners can get clear across San Francisco in like 30 seconds by jumping from rooftop to rooftop in split second.
I was going to say, almost all of the movement in that game, like for extended areas, is just shot lock teleporting from one spot to another. I really think
that move is like, oh wow, this is fun for like the first 5 seconds of that game, and then after that, it is like the biggest mistake that game made. It deletes fun.
It's like I think you could have fixed it by just removing it from most of the game and having it where you can do that to enemies.
And not bosses. Design boss. We talked about this when we were playing it a little bit, of like, boss teleports to the other side of the arena. In any other game, I go, oh, they're about to do an attack, I'll wait here, right?
Yep.
In a game where I can teleport to them, a boss teleporting away could be an opening.
Yeah.
So I warp over to them, and I got combo locked into a thing that he started doing.
Stinky.
Yeah, I mean, sure, you can learn by practicing the game 600 times, but it's anyway. But the reason I bring that up is, like, I think about we're making the game for everybody. 6-year-olds will play it and have fun, right? And then I look at that and go, okay, yeah, wow, running up the side of this mountain is really fun, says 6-year-old kid, before reaching into their phone and turning on Fortnite and spam building a tower, right?
Yeah.
It's like, what do you think is the engagement here?
Because there's another solution to this. You want to know what the other solution is?
What's the solution?
The Kojima Death Stranding. I was like, what's this goofy name again? Do it where you have there is a beyond easy difficulty. It's like, I want people that can't play games to play my game. It's like, okay, design the game for people that play games. Design it for a real audience. But if you want everybody to be able to do it, have a difficulty setting that's like, I just want to watch.
Yeah, I really think that the ideal way to do difficulty for Kingdom Hearts games in the future is you do from launch beginner, standard, proud, critical, right? And once you get to proud and we keep situation commands from Kingdom Hearts 3, but they're only in beginner and standard, right? And proud is more like just a normal game experience for a normal gamer man that's a bit more difficult than critical is what we would expect critical to be in Kingdom Hearts. But like beginner is very easy and you're getting the situation commands constantly.
Yes.
And standard is like normal video game, but also situation commands are still there.
And it's one of those things where it's like, I don't want to ever be a person that's like, no, some people just shouldn't be able to play games. Like anybody that wants to play a game should be able to, I think. And that's why I welcome having the baby mode in a game. It's like, and if you do that, it's one of those things where it's like, you're not less of a gamer. It's like there's real fun in doing something difficult. It's like when I went through the Mass Effect series, it's like I played it on Insanity because I was like, I liked the challenge, but I realized not everybody can do that. It's like I have a friend, and it's like he plays games a lot, and we have fun. He plays most of his games on the easiest difficulty simply because he has, like, his wife watches him, and he's like, well, it's boring if I'm having to restart segments constantly.
Yeah.
So when it's easy, I can just play the game casually and get through it. But you don't want the core game to be dumbed down to an extent to where it's boring.
Yeah, and even beyond that, you can make an argument of like, well, in some ways, you look at what's happening with the general public response to Elden Ring right now. Of like, if you put the right accessibility stuff in a game where people can find it, you're going to get a lot of people who. How many people have you seen who are like, I've never touched Dark Souls games and have been intimidated by them in the past, who have given Elden Ring a chance and, if not beaten it, at least enjoyed it extensively?
Well, I mean, Josh, right?
Yeah.
He bounced off Bloodborne and just had a fun time with this.
Yeah, exactly. We literally had that conversation on the last episode.
We did. We did, and it's the thing that we basically.
By the way, he has beaten it since. Our
good stuff. But I think the conclusion we both came to for it is, it's like, the thing is, like, the game is a healthy difficulty, but there are no walls. It's like you reach a challenge, and it's like, I can't do this.
I'll go do
else. Something else. I also understand that's not a solution you can have in everything.
Well, sure, no, I wasn't trying to say, well, Kingdom Hearts 4 should just be like the Elden Ring.
No, but the thing, if you want to take anything away from this, it's like, there are solutions that isn't just make the base game to, like, dumb down the experience of the base game because you think a dumb child can't figure out how to press the X button a few times to platform.
Yeah, especially because now that is, I mean, I'm not to say that there aren't young children out there playing games who aren't Fortnite build masters, but the point is that the gameplay literacy, I'm not going to say game literacy overall, because there are plenty of people out there who only play Call of Duty.
Yes.
But like controller grip, muscle memory literacy. I'm gonna go out on a limb. There's no research on this sort of thing, obviously. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say it's quadrupled in the general populace over the last 10 years.
I would imagine it has.
And
the other thing about children is, it's like, if they're engaged with the game, they will bump their head against the wall until the wall cracks or their skull cracks.
Yeah.
It's like they're not going, most of the time. This is if they're enjoying the game. It's like, there are plenty of them. It's like, if they're not engaged. But at that point, if they're not engaged, it's like, well, you screwed up in the first place. But it's like, if they are engaged, they're just going to keep trying until they figure out how to do it, or figure out a solution that was maybe not intended. But they will keep going until... Yeah, I mean, it's like, I think back to... it's like, when I was playing Donkey Kong Country 2, I think, a while back ago, I was on Toxic Tower, and I was like, damn, how did I ever beat this as a child? Because shit sucks. It's so hard. But then I think back to when I'm a kid, and it's like, I'm in my room by myself with nothing to do. I'm just playing, and it's like, damn, I lost. Anyway, time to try again. I say for the 70th time until I get it eventually.
It is, to be completely fair, since I was using Kingdom Hearts as an example on this, like, I do have direct points of comparison of, I know people in real life that I've spoken to who are like, oh yeah, I played Kingdom Hearts back in the day on PlayStation 2, and I did not, and like, I stopped in Wonderland or Deep Jungle because I literally just got stuck. Like, you can go to a point where it's a bit too much.
Yes.
It's like, you'll recall the layout of those, like, those are the second and third levels you might go to other than Olympus, right? And it's like, because it's Destiny Islands, which is, you may get stuck, but it's fairly easy to brute force and find all the collectibles. And it's like, you just bought it. I'll put the effort in. Traverse Town. That is unfortunate about the first Kingdom Hearts, is that there's a lot of I would say brute force annoyance, like walls. Because when you get to Traverse Town, in order to advance, you just have to like go into every room. Remember, there's a whole bit, like, every time you enter a room, there's a cutscene of Donald and Goofy leaving somewhere else and going, can't find anybody, right? Like, that bit is legitimately annoying.
Yes.
And then after that, I mean, honestly, even more confusing than Monstro, the actual level that's designed to be a maze. The first place you're recommended to go by star difficulty is Wonderland.
Yeah.
After that, like, nothing in the game, except maybe Monstro, is more complicated or difficult to navigate than Wonderland and like 2 particularly confusing rooms in Deep Jungle. Even like if you're trying to find everything in Hollow Bastion, it's going to take you some time. But if you just want to get to the top and beat the game, it's like, okay, you walk down the hallway and you get on the elevator and you go up, and then you get on the next elevator and you go up.
Yeah, but also in an argument against that itself, it's like that did happen to these people, but it's like that's probably because it wasn't designed the best.
No, that's exactly what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
It's like it isn't because you designed it good and they couldn't figure it out.
That's precisely
it's because you designed it poorly and people got confused by it.
I'm using it as a counterexample.
I know
what we were talking about just make the game good. Don't worry about the kids. Like there
right.
is, but no, it is also for in general, even for hardcore gamers. The Kingdom Hearts 1 has some design.
It's a fun game, but it's a little rough.
Yeah. I mean, I'll talk big game about how much I love Kingdom Hearts 1. I don't want anybody out there thinking that I just think that it's perfect. There's definitely some issues with it that I may appreciate because I have a sickness, but that I can acknowledge, like, yeah, that bit where you have to just open every door in Traverse Town and then go back where you started and no one tells you that is not, like, that's not good game design.
That is a situation where, you haven't progressed for 10 minutes. You have a little pop-up in the corner that says, open all doors.
Yeah, and then
something like that.
And then you have the reverse, or the flip side of Kingdom Hearts 2, in which everything is dirt simple, but you get pop-ups for everything, so you stop paying attention to them. So when you do need them, you aren't reading them. There's both ends of the spectrum Kingdom Hearts has explored.
Don't be too aggressive with your pop-ups, game devs. It is tiring. I love Doom Eternal. I think that game is a blast, but I got so sick.
It's within games as service design is the pops.
I got so sick of enter a room and gameplay pauses to shoot the rocket launcher, aim the rocket launcher, and press the shoot button.
Wow! Thank you, video game. Oh
and then I go to fire the rocket. Do that? I fired a rocket, and then it pauses. The rocket travels slower than a bullet, so you have to. It's like that's a made up example. It's not really like that, but that's what it felt like. Because there are a billion pop ups that pause your gameplay in that game, and it doesn't stop until like halfway through the game.
Oh God. But no, I mean, and that's
to
very
use the
much
sword, to pull out the sword and press the sword button.
And that gives you the same feeling that the games of service stuff we were talking about. The same feeling that Marvel's Avengers
but of course,
used to give you before it was sold.
Those games don't pause when you get those pop-ups because most of the time it's online.
You know those memes that use like the shit posts or like, challenge runs of like more UI elements from different games. Like that. There are some games that just feel like that playing them. You see that screenshot that's like you see UI from like 50 different games on screen, so you can't even see what game is being played anymore. Mm-hmm. It's like like
that incredible video of it takes place in a map that is like the beginning area of Mario 64, and you're fighting a Dark Souls 3 boss as the Doomslayer with the shotgun, and you have the Overwatch ult meter, and you got the coin meter and health meter and the mana meter.
Precisely.
But it's like that's a joke, but then you look at some of these games and you go, oh.
You turn on Avengers and you're like, I just want to punch somebody as Captain America or Kamala Khan. Why are you telling me about unlock the old Cap skin?
Well, it's like in Elden Ring, it's like you turn it on and it's like there's nothing.
Yeah, exactly. I wasn't going to say it, but like that's the recent one of like we are like that has been such a huge success lately that I think a lot of people are playing that and going, oh wow, right, like video games can just be like a thing I turn on, an experience I immerse myself in, and there's no needling and prodding. I was on the phone with Joshua the other day talking about this, and he was saying, and yeah, Breath of the Wild feels very similar. And then I went, well, Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Because I was agreeing with him, and then I remembered literally our stream, and that was why I laughed so hard. Because it feels like something that shouldn't be there when that prompt in the game UI just goes, Xenoblade Chronicles 2.
And it's like, oh God, and it's this poor bastard. I don't know who it was, and I'm sure it wasn't deserved, but it was somebody that had worked, I'm pretty sure, at Ubisoft, where they were talking about the map design or whatever being poor in Elden Ring. I forget exactly what they said. But they said something, and then there were a billion responses that were just Elden Ring if it was made by you people. Yeah. And it's just, you have the mini map, you have the daily pop-ups,
there are 27 markers.
There's 27 markers all over the place.
And there's some timer in the corner for for something, and there's a prompt, and there's 3 different currencies.
To arrest at bonfire, purchase bonfire pack from the store, $3.99.
And there's 3 different currencies in the corner for what you can earn in game, what you can buy with actual money, and something you can only buy with actual money.
And the NPC that's standing there has like a speech bubble. It's like, hey, get over here. I got something to tell you. But it's like these jokes wouldn't be made if this wasn't a sentiment shared amongst gamers all over the place.
A lot of people,
because it's just it's so tiring. Games have gotten so tiring. My heart goes out to sports game fans. God bless. I would have killed myself if I were you by now.
I found out what I didn't know was that I found out when I was talking with the Night Sky Prince a couple weeks ago. He told me that the cash shop in 14, basically Yoshi P said, okay, I'll do it. 2 conditions. Number 1, I have complete control. You guys don't touch it. Number 2, every dime is reinvested specifically into development on 14. Mm-hmm. It doesn't go elsewhere. They still make plenty of money off the sub fee that goes elsewhere.
Correct.
I mean, maybe not every dime. That's what he said, but he may have been exaggerating. Maybe like a huge percentage goes back into development.
Right.
But I think
as it should be, isn't it? It's a shame that has to be something commended.
But I think about that mentality, and I go, FF16, I bet is going to be devoid of nonsense, because even 15 had a little bit of nonsense.
It wasn't just a little bit. I don't think. I remember when I was playing the game.
I'm talking from a UI design standpoint, not from a walking up to the cup noodle truck for the cup noodle side
I wasn't even
standpoint.
talking about that. I'm talking about when I was playing the game, and on the menu it was like, hey, the Power Ranger event is going on.
Okay,
and I went, the what? I said no, and I did not interact, and I tried to put it out of my mind. I was like, I don't care about that crap. I just want to play the damn
You are
game.
right. I totally forgot about like the Power, like there's also the Assassin's Creed event.
I
totally forgot about all because I quit playing the game before all that happened.
The timed events in the single player game.
Mm-hmm. Just like Hitman. Like Hitman, another example of a Square Enix, an IP that escaped Square and got demonstrably better. The progression of the Hitman franchise of like, wow, these games are really good. What? Huh? Whoa! What happened? These are kind of stinky. Oh, these games are pretty good again. It can be directly tied, correlated to Square Enix ownership of IO. Because you remember, like Hitman 1, it was like that was a good video game, but it was released episodically and it was all online. And it had that elusive target crap in it that's kind of persisted in 1 and 2 and 3, but has been largely fixed. I've been playing a lot of Hitman 2 lately.
Okay.
It's, by the way, really good, but that shouldn't surprise anybody because Hitman 1 was really good.
Yes.
Hitman 1 of 16, because it's just like Tomb Raider. It shouldn't be allowed. It should be outlawed.
Shadow of the 47.
Rise of the Shadow of the 47. There was a great bit back in the day, shortly after Kingdom Hearts 3 was announced. There's a video I think I showed to you in high school, or maybe it was after high school. I don't remember. No, it doesn't matter. But it was before you were into Kingdom Hearts at all. I showed you this video. It was a fake Kingdom Hearts 3 presentation where they announced Frozen's inclusion in the game, among other things. It was like right after the game was announced. It was like early 2014 timing, I think. Because I remember there was some footage of some gameplay that was shown like early 2014, late 2013, used in this video. But there was a bit in it where the guy was like, people seem to like when we shoehorned The World Ends With You characters into Dream Drop Distance. So in Kingdom Hearts 3, fans will be excited to see Sora assassinating evil alongside Agent 47. Here is some brief gameplay. And again, when the gameplay it shows is that footage from the Absolution trailer where he's shooting a bunch of like sexy nun assassins. You remember this or not?
I don't. God.
So the Hitman, the one that we played on the channel.
Yes.
That was still under Square's ownership, but it was like a good video game that was infected with nonsense. But there were a number of other Hitman games released. The main offender was Absolution. Okay, Absolution was not a Hitman game. It was because what is a Hitman game? A Hitman game is a big open environment and there's a target somewhere in there you need to kill and
you gotta have you got plenty of options, you got all these things. It's almost like what is the genre of like original Deus Ex? What is it called? Immersive sim. Yeah. Basically, a smaller scale immersive
Hitman
sim.
Absolution. I'm gonna say 2000. Okay, I was gonna say 2010. It was later than that. It was 2012. Hitman Absolution was okay. We would like Uncharted money. It was. What if Uncharted was a stealth game? And
all the time.
And still you still like had to find and kill targets, but like you had largely linear levels and you were hiding behind cover, and one of the opening scenes is Hitman has to escape from a burning hotel where he's been framed for murder. You know, Agent 47?
Oh, he's framed.
He's been framed for murder.
Oh no.
And you have to escape and prove that you didn't murder that guy.
That's why it's called Absolution, because he's seeking absolution.
He has to prove he didn't kill that guy. Agent 47! Anyway, that's one of many problems with that. It was just like the premise was hilarious. But like that game was not a big open immersive sim. It was a very tightly controlled normal gamer experience. But there was one of the cinematic trailers, I believe, for Absolution is people have been sent to kill 47 in a motel, right?
Okay.
And the hit team in question is like 10 women in sexy latex nun costumes. And they
Oh no.
and they shoot a rocket launcher at the motel, but 47 escapes, and there's a shot where he's got the two pistols, and he's like spinning around and blowing all of these nuns away at once. And then there's a shot of him like standing over one of the nuns, and he reaches down and like closes her eyes after she's died and walks away. And it's like, what am I supposed to be feeling right now? What's happening?
He's so cool.
I can't believe you don't remember this.
No,
I guess you didn't. I guess you never saw it because I didn't even really I barely understood what the Hitman series was when I saw that, and I was like, this is the funniest thing I've ever seen. Oh my god. But no, that was another example of that Hitman, of Hitman 2016 that we played. Got split up episodically to make it into a service game, and it was always online, and what a mess.
I'm so glad that I'll put it this way. Games as a service suck, but I'm glad that it's more popular than trying to make things episodic, because I can't stand it.
Well, so this is another thing.
I know it still happens, but I cannot stand it.
It is rumored, quotation marks, not a rumor. It's basically locked down. That part of the reason why Deus Ex Mankind Divided, the second of the Jensen games, and so far only because there has been nothing further, was going to be a complete story, and then word came down on high of like, well, what if you just cut the ending out? And we did it, and we made it a trilogy. It was apparently just going to be a game that like was over, but they were told, we need you to chop like a third of the story out of this and stretch it out.
We need you to lobotomize the game.
And in addition, what a lot of people, even people who probably played it, don't remember, there was a mode introduced afterwards that was a separate games as service mode. There was a totally separate instanced thing in the game where you were like mind jacking into a computer system, like you were projecting into a digital world. You were projecting into SAO to do some hacking,
okay.
and it was like this is a new separate thing with tons of maps and tons of enemies and weekly challenges, and this is where you do your grind of your Deus Ex stealth and combat. I forget what it was called, but it was a separate mode that was like stapled onto the game with its own independent story. We need gas in here somewhere. We need games as a service in here somewhere in this single player story driven game. So they stapled on a separate mode, because you can't really do a competitive multiplayer mode for Deus Ex, but we can do something. We'll figure it out.
Did they figure it out?
No, nobody remembered it. Nobody played it.
That's crazy. Maybe it's because of the idea. It sucks.
No kidding.
Maybe it sucked from the beginning, Square.
But anyway, so these guys all being sold off is honestly probably going to be a good thing for most of these companies. It's hard to say because we don't know enough about the Embracer Group, really. We can only speak briefly to how they've handled some of the other things since their acquisitions. Like, okay, THQ isn't dead anymore.
Nope, they revived them.
The main things they've shipped are like remasters of old games. Like, yes. they shipped them the remaster of Battle at Bikini Bottom.
Yep.
Right, or Battle 4, whatever it's called. The SpongeBob game.
Yes.
That people really like that I've never played. But it was free on PlayStation Network, so I have it in my library, and maybe I'll play it sometime. Because people say it's good. Who knows? But like, you know, you get them spending all this money on these guys to fail. You get them spending all this money on Babylon's Fall, and its peak player count all time was like 1,500 or something.
And it dropped to how many?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know how many people. Hold on.
Because I want to say there was an article where it was like concurrent player count was down to like an absurd degree.
Let's find out right now. Steam charts. Okay. There were 19 people playing Babylon's Fall as of 31 minutes ago. 24-hour peak. 24-hour peak. 58. All-time peak. 1,166 on Steam.
Oh, Platinum, please don't die. Please don't die. Oh, no.
Ooh, and the gain of players, it's over the last 30 days, negative 21. 21.8 players lost. That is a loss of 25%. Peak players in the last 30 days, 223.
For your live service game.
And they've said we will continue to support Babylon's Fall. They put out a statement of we really believe in it and we're going to continue to support it. We are not abandoning Babylon's Fall. The Nier collaboration just came out, dude. With all of the items that you can get are very clearly the Nier items from Final Fantasy XIV, and they have not been optimized for this game, so they look worse than they do in Final Fantasy XIV.
Maybe take some pointers from EA, that good company, with what they done with Battlefield.
Yeah.
Where it's like, how many days, like, was it a month? Was it 2 months? How long was it out before they said we're not supporting this game anymore?
I have no idea. I don't remember. It was fast, though.
It was the fastest I've seen for a release like that in a long time.
Yeah. But it's like, you have stuff like this of them responding to that way to a game because they want this to succeed when other stuff maybe didn't do as well or did pretty well but not well enough. This is tanking hard, but we spent the money on it and we need to. This is why they're selling these companies off, is because when people look at something like this, a major launch didn't do so well and everything's getting delayed right now. It's like when you can say, hey, you know, like because. Freaking Crystal Dynamics, its profit margin last year. It was like under 3% or something like that. Like they did not make money, and even if the sale was nothing, being able to tell shareholders, yes, we've divested ourselves of these low profit things, and we're going to more heavily invest in new speculative technology such as the blockchain, cloud gaming, and they deliberately didn't say NFTs because I'm sure someone has since from the PR department said, don't say that word. NFT. You can say blockchain because people don't know what it is. You don't know what it is. But do not say NFT. But that's, the whole situation. It's probably going to be good for Square because they never knew what to do with these companies.
Yep.
And it's going to be good for those companies because probably we're going to have European businessmen at the top who at this point, who probably have a decent understanding of the international business, considering other companies that they're invested in. And depending on who's at the top at Crystal Dynamics and Eidos now and other stuff, we're probably going to see better products out of them than we have in a while because there's a lot of really talented people working at those studios. Still, yeah. I mean, a lot of people who worked on Deus Ex, for example, aren't there anymore. But literally, Josh and I did a discussion video. We talked about Guardians. Guardians was good. It had some issues, but it was good. There's a lot of talented people there, and I do wonder what's going to happen with that. I imagine Disney's probably going to keep their partnership with Eidos for more of that. I would guess. I don't know, but I don't know how the deals are because considering that Crystal Dynamics did the Avengers and Eidos did Guardians, and that's really all. Those are the only really big ones that have come out. I have to think that there was probably that deal was cut through Square. So I don't know if Square is going to try and hold on to their deals with Disney of like, please let us continue to make Marvel stuff with our now no Western studios. Remains to be seen.
I'm sorry. I keep looking over at Babylon's Fall, and I don't want to keep talking about this poor sad game, but I want everybody to really let it soak in 19 players in the last 30 minutes. It means if you pick up Babylon's Fall and play on Steam, you can get to know the entire community.
The entire community.
You can get to know everybody and become friends with everybody, and all of you are together over your shared love of this game that literally only all of you are playing. All 20 of you are playing.
I think that it's worth noting that if in the last 30 days, 223 people have played the game, I'm going to say at least 50 of those were journalists or content creators.
Yes.
Probably more. Maybe more like 100. If we factor in guy whose job is to write an article about Babylon's Fall, so we booted it up to see what's going on, right? I'm going to say that if there's 223 people playing in the last 30 days, I'm going to say at least 50 are not there because they like the game. They're there because it's dead.
Yes.
For research purposes.
It's the last dregs of, what was that that battle royale that you couldn't hardly find a match.
Cliffy B.
Yeah, Cliffy B. That
Radical
one.
Heights.
Radical Heights. Yeah, where it's like a week after launch, literally every match was. Everybody playing it was just streamers or journalists.
Yeah.
And that's it. Because you could see, it's like if they were streaming, you would see that little extension by their name. Mm-hmm. And it's like literally all of them.
Nobody was in there unless they were making content.
And it's like, that cash cow of 80 people that are doing it for journals is only going to be there for 4 days. And then...
Yeah.
God. Let Platinum make good game. Don't make them make this...
I think it's worth noting that Platinum probably wanted to do this too to some extent. I'm sure there was some element within Platinum that said, "Yo, we can make a lot of money if we start running some service games." So I'm sure this wasn't just marching orders from on high. I'm sure there was at least some desire
was Anarchy Reigns the last time they did anything multiplayer?
I believe so. Yes.
Yeah.
Ooh,
okay.
Yeah.
Ooh. I don't, guys. I'm not telling you how to do your business. You guys make pretty good games, but the last time you tried to make a multiplayer game, it didn't work out so well.
No. So on this,
we should have seen this coming.
We've been talking quite a bit about this because obviously, just saying, "Hey, Square sold these guys," led into so many other things. So we're talking about games of service.
Yep.
I use the phrase nickel and diming a lot throughout that whole thing. Joey, you mentioned earlier Sonic Origins.
Yes.
Have you heard anything about the nickel and diming that's going on with Sonic Origins?
My heart became heavy when you said we're going to talk about this because I knew that there's nothing good could have come from you saying that. I need to state, this is my full knowledge of the game.
Okay, go ahead.
I know they said we are re-releasing this game. There's going to be a few new animated cutscenes made by the Sonic Mania animators.
Yep.
It's going to be Sonic 1, 2, 3, and CD, and I think they said something about it's like I think they said like remaster of the old ones. I didn't quite get that, but I think they said something about like maybe add like Knuckles to like 1 and 2.
Yes,
or
you
something
can play as Knuckles in the other games as well now, and there's stuff like that. Like the characters like universal.
The thing that I took away from it was that maybe 1, maybe 2, like maybe they're all going to be playing like 3 now because they all played at least 1. Sure,
probably. Would be like, I didn't read too much about the details of what they were changing around. I'm like, okay, it's the guy. It's at least some of the people who worked on Mania.
I heard all this. I saw the announcement and I was like, cool. And
you moved on.
I moved on, and now it seems that my swollen, aching heart will continue to ache for Sonic.
We are to assume, of course, that the people who worked on it, Mania folks, maybe some other people, I don't know exactly who worked on it, but I think at least some Mania folks were involved in it. Just went in and said, okay, widescreen, quality of life stuff,
sure,
control, just go in and let's make them the best possible playing versions of these games that we can. Add in some extra features, maybe the ability. It's worth noting that Christian Whitehead literally the version of Sonic CD that you were able to buy on like phones or whatever for the last several years was made by Christian Whitehead. That's how he got the job to do Mania, and that had you can switch between the Japanese and US soundtracks in it. It was widescreen. It had a bunch of other stuff. So cool. I imagine we'll see lots of features like that in this. It'll be a really good package, right? Okay, so cool, great. We got this game coming out, and it's in Sonic. By the way, have you seen Sonic 2, the movie, or not?
No, I have not.
Okay, anyway.
I wanted to, and it was like I was gonna go see it, and friends were like, "No, we're all gonna go see it." And I was like, "Okay, I'll wait." And
it's coming out in the general proximity of Sonic 2, we'll get some.
Yep.
We'll be able to sell a lot of It'll be a fun video game, right? Okay, but Joey. But like
there's always a but.
But we
there's
can make
always a but with Sonic.
But we can make so much money, Joey. Let me show you a chart.
No! You get that the hell away from me. I don't like these charts. This is like internet protection, where it's like,
yes.
Oh god.
So don't read it just yet. I'm putting
don't
it on
worry,
screen.
I
I'll put it on
can't-
screen in the edit. But for anybody who's just listening and not looking, it's
say,
the
I
chart
can't
that
read
you
this
know.
right
It's
now.
the chart that you know of like all the different versions of the product, and then a little grid underneath it that's like what is included with each version.
There are
of this, right?
5 images I'm seeing. It looks to me like there are 5
There's
versions of
standard
the game.
edition, the Start Dash Pack, which is free DLC included with pre-order of standard or digital deluxe.
Wonderful.
Okay, so there's pre-order. There's standard
standard
edition.
and the pre-order bonus.
There's pre-order bonuses. There's Premium Fun Pack, which is coming soon. There's Classic Music Pack, which is coming soon. And there's Digital Deluxe Edition. Okay? All right. So here's the various things that you can or can't get. Main game, 100 bonus coins.
What?
Mirror mode. Hard missions. Letterbox background. Character animation in the main menu.
What?
Camera controls over main menu islands. Character animations during music islands. Additional music tracks from Mega Drive and Genesis titles. And it's worth noting, when you look at this chart, there is no singular purchase that gets you everything.
There's literally not even the
If you pre-order the Digital Deluxe Edition, then you get the pre-order stuff. But if you just purchase the Digital Deluxe Edition, you miss out on 100 bonus coins and mirror mode unlocked, which are only included in the pre-order bonuses, and letterbox background, which can only be gained as a pre-order bonus or in the Premium Fun Pack. But it's not included in the Digital Deluxe Edition. So even if you pre-order the Digital Deluxe Edition, or rather, if you get the Digital Deluxe Edition later, you will miss out on Mirror Mode and 100 bonus coins, and you will not be able to get them. But if you purchase the Premium Fun Pack, you will be able to get the letterbox background, which is the only feature included in the Premium Fun Pack, which is otherwise not included in the Digital Deluxe Edition. Of course, if you get the other versions of the game, even if you pre-order and get the Premium Fun Pack, you will still have to separately purchase the Classic Music Pack for the Mega Drive and Genesis soundtracks, unless you get the Digital Deluxe Edition. But of course, don't remember, you will not be able to get everything in the Digital Deluxe Edition unless you pre-order it. So let's break these down a little bit.
I don't wanna.
Character animation in main menu. In my mind, I'm picturing, you're sitting on the main menu, and there's like little sprites of Sonic and Tails doing little fun stuff in the background, right? So
I'm going to already guess that what it means is it's like the Sonic that comes out of the ring will not move unless you do this, and then if you get this, he finger wags.
I think it literally means that there's going to be a fun, jazzy menu with cool backgrounds and music playing, and there will be like little animations of the characters running around, right? Like little sprites of them just running, just like fun stuff happens on the main. If you just let it idle, like you'll get a little animation of Sonic and Tails hanging out, or Knuckles, doing his fists at Metal Sonic or whatever, right?
Sure.
Like, I think it's just, the point is, like, these are not complicated games. These are games that came out on the Genesis and the Sega CD, like almost 30 years ago now? It was a while ago, right?
Yeah.
So we can't really strip anything out of them to nickel and dime people. So they've looked for, what is anything that we can turn off?
What is literally
What is any feature that we can turn off and sell back to people? So businessman looks at it and he goes, those character animations on the menu are cute, let's turn that off. I assume main menu islands is when you're like picking the game or the locations. There'll be like a 3D, kind of master system, like Saturn looking maybe, right? Like some primitive, like probably cute primitive 3D. I feel like I saw that in the trailer. And like presumably you'll be able to move the camera around. Like, oh wow, look at these cool, lovingly rendered 3D realizations of Sonic locations. Well, what if we just turned the camera controls off? There, that's a feature we can remove without like cutting any bones out of the game. Character animations during music islands. I assume that'll be like there's a location you can go to that's just like a music player, right? Listen to the soundtrack. So presumably you turn on a track and you'll see like Amy doing a little dance, or Sonic like wagging his finger and tapping his toes, right? Well, we'll just turn that off, and we'll put that in the Premium Fun Pack. You want to have premium fun, don't you, Joey?
Fun is infinite.
Fun is infinite at Sega.
Oh, this is... I don't think I've got words for this. This is the dumbest shit that they have pulled with Sonic in a long time. I think I say that so much. Why did I have to be born a Sonic fan? Why did I have this? Why was I born with this cursed blood in my veins that I bleed blue for this stupid bastard? Oh, this is a parody. This is a joke. This isn't real. This is This is a hard drive article.
No, it's real.
It's not real.
Devolver Digital did make fun of it by saying, our marketing department created a handy guide for pre-ordering Trek to Yomi. Please use it to navigate your purchase. And it's just PS4, pre-order now, you get everything. PS5, pre-order now, you get everything. Xbox One, Series X, PC, pre-order, get everything. The list is Trek to Yomi base game, 10% off, epic journey through Underworld. And then the next one, and back. Stunning visuals, remarkable soundtrack, progressively complex combat, full credits at the end.
I'm going to turn into Mikolash from Bloodborne. I'm going to put a cage on my head and I'm just going to howl at mirrors for the rest of my life.
You've got a game that's just done. It's just finished.
It's just done, so just make it not done.
But
just
Joey,
take the crap out of it.
But how are we going to get more money out of this experience?
Do they even have the prices listed or anything yet?
No. I don't know how much the premium fun pack is coming soon, Joey. It's not even going to be available at launch. The only way you get that content at launch is if you pre-order the digital deluxe edition. If you just buy the game, you're going to have to buy the premium fun pack and the classic music pack later. Which honestly is probably going to hurt their sales by not making them available up front, because people will play Origins and not know about any of this and say that was fun, and then when the premium fun pack comes out, they won't even know about it. But I think I pulled up the trailer here. I think we'll see a bit of I think we may see a tiny bit of like the 3D island stuff in here, if I recall. We're gonna let this trailer run for a second here, and I'll see if it comes up.
It's like, be mistaken. It's like this was made by this was not made by bastards. This was chopped by bastards.
Well, that's when I go, how did these guys feel about the fans are making a better or at least more well-received product than what we're making, right? Hey, look, the trailer shows classic and anniversary. Classic and widescreen perspectives, right? It did say that one of the things you can get in the Start Dash pack or the Premium Fun pack is letterbox background. Now, it says, I don't know, does that mean that it's just this background of like the rings? Like, does it mean you can't play in classic mode? Or does it literally just mean you can play in 4.3?
I don't know.
But just there won't be this fun pictures of rings on the side? Like, if you don't get the Premium Fun pack, will it just be black?
When does this release?
I don't even know when this... There's probably a release date in the trailer. I'll just keep it playing.
Then see...
All new animated content.
I can't tell you how many times somebody has said, Joey, aren't you excited for Frontiers? And half the time they're serious. And this crap happens. And this is
coming out in June.
This is the reason why I say no, I'm not excited about it.
Digital Deluxe for bonus hard missions, additional music track, letterbox backgrounds, plural. So you'll be able to go into it. You know how in the Game Boy Player for GameCube, you can set different frames?
Just do that.
Oh, there's going to be different options for the background that you can set in the menu, in the Premium Fun Pack or Digital Deluxe Edition. Character animations and island camera. What does that mean? What does that mean? I remember even before I saw the chart, I watched the trailer and I was like, wait, character animations? I have to get the Digital Deluxe Edition for character animations? What does that mean? What's going on here? I don't know. This chart is obviously always funny and always bad. I don't understand how we're looking at this chart for a Sonic game.
For a Sonic, not a
classic Sonic game.
Not a new Sonic game. For a Sonic, like, this is an advanced...
Genesis game!
This is an advanced port, is what this is.
Well, you know what? You know what I will say? Genesis certainly does what Nintendo don't. Because Nintendo, for all their foibles, I don't think they understand enough about the internet and DLC to be able to come up with something like this.
Correct. Oh, that's a good title. That's a good title. Go back up. I want to see that again. Sonic Kotaku says Sonic Origins has some bullshit DLC. Yeah. Yeah,
Character
it does.
animations in the main menu is only available in a premium fun pack. Dude, I thought for sure you knew about that, and you were gonna come in here hot when I brought it up. You're like, oh yeah, I gotta talk about it. I didn't think I was gonna be able to do this to you. This is so much better than what I thought I was gonna be able to do today.
Video. It's just a video game. I shouldn't be upset.
People have often asked in comment sections, Jacob, do you enjoy hurting your friends in these videos? And the answer is yes, definitely. Absolutely.
I've got the angel and devil on my shoulder right now, and the angel is saying, calm down, dude, it's just a game. The devil is saying, kill somebody.
There are two wolves.
There are two wolves inside of me, and both
one of them likes Sonic. The other one wants to destroy Sonic.
I'm gonna say there are two wolves inside of me. One of them likes Sonic, and the other one is whispering in my ear to find the man responsible from this and burn his house down.
The man responsible, Yuji Naka. We gotta talk about him, dude.
Oh, yeah.
Yuji Naka speaks out.
Yuji
Balan
Naka.
Wonderworld wasn't my fault.
He says, off of a lawsuit that got his DMCA removed or whatever it is.
Known whiny bitch Yuji Naka says... known whiny bitch Yuji Naka completed a suit against Square Enix where he is basically now says, okay, folks, I gotta tell you something. I was basically 6 months ahead of the release of Balan Wonderworld. I was completely cut out of the process. I had a lot of problems with the way that the game was being developed. I had a lot of issues with how resources were being allocated. I had a lot of issues with stuff with decisions the producers were making with regards to the marketing of the game, with regards to what was being prioritized. He mentioned something weird about one of the trailers for Balan Wonderworld didn't use a track from the soundtrack. It used a fan cover that's like a fan had done, like an earlier trailer had a theme in it, or like a demo or whatnot. The demo was quite close to announcement. Yeah. And they eventually they used a fan's cover in a trailer or something like that. And he says he objected to this and nobody listened to him. And the point is, he claims that he got totally locked out of the process at a certain point and basically removed. Yes. He even said I was not allowed to respond to and like fan art that I saw for the characters in the games on Twitter and stuff. That's why I haven't been talking about it. I really apologize to any fans out there who thought I was not engaging with them. Now, like I said, Yuji Naka, known whiny bitch, is on one hand here likely doing a last-ditch effort to try and rehabilitate his reputation after a string of failures. But if even 50%
of this is real, then it's like, okay.
It does not reflect very well on what went down in the offices of whatever that team was called that made Balan Wonderworlds.
Right.
Or whatever. I'm never confident when I say that game's name out loud.
Yeah.
Hold on.
It's World, right? Wonder World.
Balan Wonderworld. Hold on. I'm going to look up the Balan Wonderworld Steam charts.
Ooh.
There's the all-time peak was 94.
Ooh, who's playing? How many are playing right now?
5.
Hey, listen. Okay. Balan Wonderworld community, hear me out. You need to merge with the Babylon's Fall community. Become a mega fan base of 25 or 24 strong.
Ooh, it's been a tiny increase in the player base over the last week or so.
Probably because people were reminded it existed.
Oh yeah, of course, because of the story. What am I talking about? Yeah, people went to check out Balan Wonderworld. Let's see what's going on over here. Maybe Yuji Naka isn't so bad after all.
But yeah, it's one of those things.
There's been a gain. There's been a gain of 60% of the player base over the last 30 days. Peak players 13.
Damn. All right. Almost how many people are playing Babylon's Fall right now? So yeah, right now we only have we only have Yuji Naka's word at the moment. But something like this is like the story is not going to end with his word. It's like we're going to get more information, more
Maybe.
stuff's going to come out.
If anybody cares enough to bother with it. But no, yeah, I definitely would not say this is a final word of gospel nail in the coffin story.
Right, but like you said, if even half of this is true.
The coffin is like, it's not nailed shut, but it's sitting in a dark corner of the
dank,
mortuary that nobody
corner.
really cares to go and reinvestigate, I don't think. So it remains to be seen if like there'll be an earthquake and the coffin will topple over and the lid will fall off and something else will spill out.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't think there's going to be anything major, but I thought
Sure.
this has opened up new interest, and him speaking out
Yes.
is like, I imagine this will at least get a few more like,
Maybe a few more people will look into it.
yeah, a few more people look into it. Maybe some people on the teams will confirm or deny, or
But we shall see. We shall see. Who knows?
all that matters is that boy Yuji Naka might not be out of the game. He might.
He did. I mean, a couple months ago, he was like, "Here's a small game I've been developing by myself. This is the first time I've written code this way in decades." He was like literally something small that he made for himself, like at home in his free time or whatever. Which I assume he has a lot of these days. Speaking of free time, the producers of Sony's Spider-Man universe. I hope they get free time soon because they all need to be fired because Morbius came out since you were here last time.
I continue to hear funny things about that, but my favorite picture that I have seen has been it's Morbius doing the Jeb Bush pose with his arms back,
Yes.
and it's like it has like Avatar as number 2, and then Morbius outgrossing it by like $1 trillion.
Yeah, I know. Everybody's like the first movie ever to make $1 trillion at the box office. Freaking like the other ones. My favorite memes I've seen about that were like Jesse, we need to cook. Where should we go, Mr. White? And then in a photo of a theater showing Morbius. Nobody will find us there. But the other one was like before release. I saw, every now and then those movies come along. We talked about it when Cats happened, right? Of like where film critics get to go, finally, I can take off my limiters, right?
Yes.
And there was a tweet of somebody who was going, it might not even be a film critic, but it was somebody who was going to a pre-screening for, critics or whatever.
Yes.
Like a couple days before release. And they showed a photo of the window of their car had been smashed in. Maybe it probably wasn't actually theirs. It was done for the joke.
Yes.
They said, watch out, folks. My car was. I had a ticket to Morbius in my car. When I came back, it was broken into, and there were 3 tickets to Morbius in my car.
Yeah, it's like I virtually know nothing about the movie. I just know the general ire against it.
So I can't talk about the movie too much because I didn't see it and I don't care. But what's important is the film's the film's big scheme business plans, right?
Okay.
Because you may recall some of this, but Sony has the film rights to Spider-Man.
Yes.
They got him in the late 90s, early 2000s when Marvel was just throwing this stuff to whoever would spend the money on it, right? Now Disney's trying to consolidate that stuff again. They've got Fox, so they've got X-Men back in their corner. In fact, as I understand it, Patrick Stewart shows up in Multiverse of Madness as Charles Xavier, Professor X, for like 5 seconds.
Right.
But that also came out, and I don't care.
Have you seen the absolutely hilarious like tweets about it, where it's like, "Oh man, dude, you're gonna love this movie, but before it, be sure you've seen X, 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 and X."
Yeah.
For it. Oh, those are incredible.
The show WandaVision is like prerequisite viewing for this movie.
There we go.
basically.
It's a picture of Mr. Strange himself, and somebody tweeted, it says, "Not gonna spoil anything, but make sure you've seen the 7th episode of season 6 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., the first episode of What If, the whole Loki series, Deadpool 2, and the final season of X-Men the animated series, and unbelievably Inhumans."
Yeah.
And it's like,
when I was reading the page for the movie, because I was like, I'm not gonna go see it, I don't care. But I saw like, and someone reprises his role from Inhumans. I was like, what? Hold on a second. Do you know what Inhumans was? Inhumans was an ABC Marvel show that lasted for 1 season because it was the cringiest shit in the world. There was a trailer, like I remember I saw the original trailer for it, and there was like one of the characters was like a bulldog who was very large and CGI. It was like the most awkward, cheap looking show I'd ever, and like at that time, I was actually kind of watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. a little bit. And I think at that time, Peggy Carter had just gone off. Peggy Carter had just been canceled. Which, by the way, I think Peggy Carter was actually one of the best of all those Marvel TV shows. It Peggy Carter, who was Captain America's girlfriend in the 40s, just doing secret agent stuff in the 40s.
Yeah, but she couldn't run real fast and jump and explosions.
Well, she can now because in the first episode of Marvel's What If, the scenario is what if she got the super soldier serum instead. And in Multiverse of Madness, she shows up. Haley Atwell shows up as Captain Peggy Carter in one of the other dimensions that they go to, because cinema is dead.
I saw,
and that's an exaggeration.
With that tweet, and it may have been that tweet or it may have been another one, because I've seen a few of these, like of serious posts from Marvel fans that are doing this, and somebody's just like, somehow the Marvel fans have been, or the Marvel movies have been able to capture the insufferable magic of the comic book fan base.
Absolutely, it's
bro, you got to be sure to pick up the 6th edition of the What If Superman Saga Soup Serum.
No, it's officially hit that threshold. Like post, I was kind of afraid this was going to happen post Endgame, when they were like, I mean, it's fine because after Endgame I'm done anyway. I'm like, I may check in every now and then. I like Tom Holland Spider-Man. I may check in on Taika Waititi Thor and maybe Guardians of the Galaxy or something. It's like mostly I'm like, if I hear one of them is really good, I'll go. But I don't care that much anymore.
I was gonna say you're not really hearing much of that.
Yeah,
these
I mean, I
days.
don't know. People like this. The new people say the new shows are pretty good. Like people
the
say WandaVision and Loki.
The shows, yes. I'm talking about the movies, but
not many have come out. It's basically just been Spider-Man, the Black Widow movie that people said was mid, and Multiverse of Madness. There haven't really been other ones so far. I don't think they kind of COVID kind of held everything back for a while, but which was good because honestly, I think. I'm sure Disney's looking at their bottom line and they're upset about it, but honestly, I think those movies. I think everybody needed a break. I think everybody needed to chill for a little while after Endgame and Far From Home, because really,
100% agree.
Yeah, but anyway, regardless, people will recall that that when these things were just sold off to other people, Sony got Spider-Man. And they need to, in order to maintain their control over Spider-Man, keep putting out Spider-Man movies. Now we're at a place where they've got kind of a deal with Disney. But during the late aughts, early 2010s, they put out the Amazing Spider-Man films with Andrew Garfield. And their plan was, we need to get in on that money that Avengers just made, because that was around the time that Avengers came out. It's like, oh, hold on, these movies are really taking off, and they got this whole interconnected thing.
Yes,
we need to copy this model, but we only have Spider-Man and his rogues gallery. So in the Amazing Spider-Man 2, part of the reason why the Amazing Spider-Man 2 is so messy and so bad is because it's less concerned with being a movie than it is with setting up 5 other movies, which is why not only does he fight like 3 different villains in that movie, but like there are 16 characters in that film who are like supposed to get their own movies later on. There's a scene where one of the bad guys is in a secret Oscorp facility and he's walking down a hallway and he literally walks past big glass cases that have like a scorpion suit, Doc Ock arms, vulture wings. Like it's just like, oh man, dude, Sinister 6. Oh yeah, get ready. It's like, why do they have these sitting around? Why do they just have these sitting around to eventually slap onto people who aren't even in the story yet? Freaking Black Cat, who's a Spider-Man character. Her alter ego is Felicia Hardy, I think is her real name, and Felicia is in Amazing Spider-Man 2 just as someone who works at Oscorp and is in 2 scenes and is played by actress whose name I don't remember. The lady who was the lead in Rogue One. Among other things, a known actress who's in the movie for 2 scenes because she was supposed to be in the all female Spider-Man movie, because the lineup, that image that people always make fun of like the studio executives standing on a stage and they have the roadmap of 20 movies behind them, and you wanna die. The roadmap for Spider-Man circa 2011 or whenever was Amazing Spider-Man 3, Amazing Spider-Man 4. Standalone Sinister 6 movie, and a standalone all-female Spider-Man movie, which was never fully elaborated upon by what the hell they meant by that. I assumed it was going to be like Black Cat and like Silk and some other characters fight. I don't know who.
It's like that. It's like that Japanese only SNK game where it's like the SNK for girls.
And it's a dating sim. Precisely. But it's like, it's just what characters do we have and what can we do? It's like why do you mean a Sinister 6 movie? They're not like the Suicide Squad. They don't, like, historically speaking, the Sinister 6 only ever team up to kill Spider-Man. Like, they don't really like each other for the most part. You're just telling me you're going to do a movie about, like, I don't know, Venom, and because, like, the Sinister 6 roster shuffles around. But it's like, you just want to do, like, Venom and Doc Ock and Vulture and Electro fight somebody else? Like, what's your scheme here?
These failed attempts at cinematic universes never cease to amaze me. They're like the monster verse.
The dark universe is where I was going too. I think I joked around a while ago. So the dark universe was the Universal wanted to do the shared universe of monster movies.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you remember this. There was a screenshot. Hold on, not a photo, a press photo. That was like, here are all the people who are signed on to be in the Dark Universe movies. It's like Tom Cruise is there, Javier Bardem is there, Johnny Depp is there, and it's like because I think Javier Bardem was gonna be like Frankenstein's monster or something like that, like whatever. And I distinctly I think somebody should spend the money to put just this image on every billboard in LA for like a week. So every single studio executive in LA, wherever they go, just has to see this. So
they can get rid of their damn delusions of grandeur.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not going to do it. You're not going to make...
It's not happening.
Focus on making something good. Make something popular, and if it really takes off...
I can't wait for Avatar 2 and 3.
So I read somewhere that they're going to be re-showing the first Avatar movie.
They're going to be putting Avatar.
It's going to be like
Avatar
the digital. It's going to be a remastered edition of it. We're getting a video game remake of the movie for theaters because people.
Joey, you say that as if it didn't happen with Star Wars. No, we are again. Like, to be fair, to be as generous as I can with James Cameron's Avatar. The whole reason that movie was popular was because I saw it on an IMAX screen in 3D, right? Like, the experience of seeing that on a big screen in 3D and watching it at home on a DVD, it was like two completely different. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, it was two completely different films, which is also why the film had no real staying power. It was ludicrously popular for like 5 minutes, but had no staying power.
Correct, but it also, the staying power sure didn't help with them literally not doing anything with it, except for Disney being like, we're going to make a really, really cool part of our theme park.
Yeah, I think it's because those movies were supposed to come out 5 years ago.
Exactly, and it's so funny. Like that little, visually that might be my favorite part of Animal Kingdom.
Oh yeah,
but because it's gorgeous. But I look at this and it's like, does anybody here even know what this is?
Does anyone know what Avatar is?
Does anybody remember?
Does anybody remember Avatar?
Do people go into the gift shop and say, what are these little blue dudes?
It really is ironic
that
The Last Airbender, the film, came out like a year after that, and they didn't put Avatar in the title because they were concerned about brand confusion. Where we are now in 2022, I think Avatar: The Last Airbender has a stronger brand than one of the highest grossing movies of all time.
Legitimately, I promise you, because this happened the other day because my friend was telling me about the theater thing, and he said the Avatar movie, and I said, did you mean the Ong movie? And he said, no. And he said, no, the blue people. And that's the thing, it's every time it's like, Airbender? No, blue people. Blue hair, locked sex scene.
There's also that Ubisoft game that we haven't heard about since E3 of last
I know.
Year. Or whenever that was. Was it last year or the year? It was last year.
It was last year. We haven't heard anything else about it, but I mean,
that's not like stunning. We'll probably hear about it this year.
Yeah, well, there's nothing to go on other than the trailer and the concept,
sure.
which the concept is.
But my point is, like, that's the only thing.
That's it.
When that trailer came out, that was the first thing that had happened with the brand since the park opened.
Exactly.
And the first thing that happened, and when the park opened, that was the first thing that had happened since the movie came out on Blu-ray.
I was gonna say it's literally movie releases to theaters, releases to DVD. Disney spends a shit $1 billion to make a really cool park.
Do you remember?
Nothing.
Do you remember when that movie first came out on Blu-ray? Because it was the Blu-rays came with tickets to see the movie in theaters. Because it was still in theaters.
Yeah, because it was in theaters for a while.
That was the last time that a movie had a run in theaters, like a real run, a long run in theaters like that. Obviously, like whatever, a Marvel movie will sit around in theaters for a while, but it'll be playing on 2 screens perpetually for months longer than it should, but it'll be there, right? Yes. Why not? That was the last time that there was like, no, people are still like there's like a 40% of the theater is full like 2 months after run. Like that was the last time that happened.
That was. I mean, I guess technically we'll see when they release the new ones, but it's like that was really weird lightning in a bottle.
It's not going to happen again.
It'll
do well because people go to movies of like, well, what the hell else am I going to do?
Yeah, I know. But it's like it's one of those things that I kind of want to, not in theaters, but I want to rewatch it again. But it's mainly just because it's like I want to try to get a better understanding of why that was so huge.
I think if you want to understand that, you do need to watch it in theaters, because I honestly think the appeal was I put the 3D glasses on in IMAX, and I haven't seen anything quite like this before.
Because I know when it came out, I remember one of the things that was in the public consciousness was like, oh, this is the best looking mostly CG movie, or whatever. But it's like I guess that was, man, I guess graphics really do sell games, huh?
Yeah. That was, I literally, in my video that I did about graphics don't sell games, my comment was that the last time that could be said of anything was Avatar. Remember Avatar? Do you remember that? No, I didn't see it in theaters. I haven't even seen the whole thing.
Was Aliens Lady in that movie?
Yeah, Sigourney Weaver was in it. In fact, I was about to say, I haven't seen the whole thing. The last scene I've seen was Sigourney Weaver getting shot. I haven't even seen the big ending battle scene because I was watching it at a friend's house circa, I don't know, like 2012. I don't know, 2013. But not even. When the hell did Avatar even come out? Was that like 2009?
I thought it was 11.
2009. I probably watched it in like 2010 or 2011 on DVD at a friend's house, right? And
Avatar 2, Way of the Water.
I joked on Twitter. I was like, no. Avatar 2 was Earth. Avatar 1 was water. These guys don't know anything. But then three is fire. Four is air. Then 5 is 4 is air. 5 is spirits, 6 is balance, and then I don't remember what the last one is.
The funniest thing is because, of course, it's listed as 2022, but the funniest thing is, like, pulling up the list of it's like, to be released in 2014, to be released in 2016, to be released in 2018.
Yeah.
It's the Persona 5 thing of the screenshot is, like, releasing in April of 2014.
It was originally supposed to be coming winter 2014.
Winter 2014, yeah.
Yeah. But no, I watched it. The only time I saw it was at a friend's house. People were watching it. They'd all seen it before, and I'm watching the movie, and I've never seen it before. And around the time I distinctly have like the frame in my mind where the pause button was hit, which was after Sigourney Weaver was gut shot, and her and some of the other humans are rushing her onto one of the helicopters to escape in the airbase. As they're loading her into the helicopter, in like a wide shot from above, somebody hit pause and said, I'm bored, let's do something else. And I went, what? I mean, not like I was deeply invested in the movie, but I'm like, a character just got shot, and we're like breaking into the third act here, and I haven't seen this, and we're done now. And they were like, yeah. I was like, okay, I guess I'll catch it some other time.
Also, my gamer goblin brain, I don't like what games have done to me because I'm reading, Avatar 2019 is an American epic science fiction film, and I was like, yeah, I think back then people would have described it as epic too, huh?
Hold on, well, the runtime. 2 hours 40. That's not an epic. I think. Yeah, Avengers Endgame was 3 hours. That's not an epic.
Damn, that's longer than I thought it was.
But but no. Back to the talking about cinematic universes and whatnot. The freaking Sinister Six-verse. I don't know what you've heard about Morbius, because they're trying again. They're trying to get back at that money. They need it. They realized circa 2012. Maybe we should just put Spider-Man in these other movies that are already making money, and we can shave some cash off of that.
Yeah.
Right? But then they did Venom a couple years ago, right? Venom.
I've seen Venom actually.
So I would say, from my outside impression of having not seen Venom, Venom is a movie that should have made no money, but that starred a good actor and was just stupid enough.
It was fun.
To be fun.
It was. It reminded me that these are comic book movies because it was stupid.
Right.
And the main character is stressed out and sweaty and panicking and doing stupid things the whole time.
Right.
And it's like, oh yeah, this is a dumb comic book movie.
And it's like, between the fact that Venom is just so popular, and Tom Hardy's pretty popular, and the movie's just dumb fun, it's like, okay.
It's not a masterpiece by any stretch, even as far as dumb fun goes, but I had a fun time with it once I got over the fact of realizing this is not going to be a good movie.
Yeah.
I had a fun time with it.
It's not a good movie, but it made its money, and then they did the second one and it made a lot of money. But what's happening with Morbius is what should have happened in the first place, probably, with those movies on paper.
On paper,
right? And so you saw. I know you haven't caught up on the. I know you didn't see No Way. I do like the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies. The names are all terrible. Homecoming was good. After that, they're all bad.
I think I've seen the first one. I don't even know if I saw the second one, but
it was called Far From Home. It was after Endgame because it's dealing with him being sad about Tony Stark being dead.
I have not. I have two friends that are constantly like, "Bro, we got to watch Spider-Man movies." I'm like, okay.
They're pretty good. I watch them with you sometimes because I like Far From Home a pretty good bit.
It's one of those things of I will watch it when I am at a place and I am sat down and told we're watching Spider-Man.
Precisely. But anyway, oh no, I lost my train of thought there. What was I saying? Crap. Oh, no. But you have seen Homecoming, so you know the Vulture. You know Michael Keaton is in that, and he's also really good in that movie because he's not I'm gonna blow up the orphanage and kill Spider-Man. He's like, I got fired and I'm gonna make a little money.
Yep.
And there's
it's the first time that I saw one of these movies and I was like, damn, I respect this dude. I respect this hustle. Maybe going a little bit too far in some places, but you know what? It's like, whatever, take the money. I don't care.
I don't care. But so that character, you'll recall at the ending, Spider-Man saves him from getting blown up and some stuff. And one of the credits scenes in that movie is he's in prison and somebody walks up to him and was like, "Hey, Spider-Man put me in here too. I heard a rumor that you know who he is. I got some boys on the outside who could go get him." And he says, "Sorry, man, you got the wrong information." He absolutely knows who Peter Parker is, right? Okay, so in the last Spider-Man movie, the most recent one that came out, there's some Doctor Strange stuff in it. There's a lot of multiverse stuff going on. You've seen the trailers. You know old villains show up in it, right? Okay, so part of what happens in that is that there's basically people who know Peter Parker's identity are being pulled in from other dimensions is what causes the issue. Is basically Peter tries to perform a spell that will erase people's knowledge because of his secret identity because he got doxxed. And everybody knows Peter Parker is Spider-Man, and he tries to undo this. But then he's like, "Oh, never mind, forget it. I cancel. No, cancel it." And it does the reverse thing where it starts pulling people from other dimensions in who know his secret identity. This is what causes the crisis of the film. So towards the end of that, there's a scene where control over this spell is completely breaking down, and the crisis of the film is stopping. Basically up in the sky, you start seeing the silhouettes and shapes of
Sephiroth.
Yeah, of Sephiroth, right? You're seeing every single possible Spider-Man villain, and other characters are all appearing in the sky, and they're like, this is about to get 6 of these guys is a problem enough, or however many are in the movie, right? So they fix it, and it's not a problem anymore, right? But there's a brief joke moment in one of the endings that frankly doesn't make any sense. The post-credits scene of Venom 2: Let There Be Carnage with Woody Harrelson.
I saw that one too.
There's a scene where Tom Hardy and Venom get warped to another dimension, and they see on the TV Peter Parker getting doxxed, right?
Yeah. And I didn't know that. Okay, yeah, I didn't know that was.
That happens. Connected. That happens at the ending of Far From Home. The last thing that happens is he gets doxxed.
Okay.
And Venom looks at the TV and goes, "That guy," or something. Like the implication.
It was something weird.
He seems to something about he's attuned to Peter somehow, right? So then the Doctor Strange reveals that the only reason people get pulled into that dimension is if they know Peter Parker's identity. Peter Parker seemingly doesn't exist, and Tom Hardy certainly doesn't know. So unless they're trying to say something like that all the Venom symbiotes across all dimensions have a hive mind,
They don't though, because they explicitly talk about that
in
the movie. So it really doesn't make sense.
So the point is that Sony's checked out on whatever the hell's going on in that movie. They just wanted to, at the end of their movie, make it look like Venom was going to be part of this other thing, right? So one of the post-credits scenes it's actually a pretty funny scene in that most recent Spider-Man film when everybody returns back to the dimensions they're supposed to at the end of that movie. One of the credits scenes is Tom Hardy is sitting at a bar and he says, "Okay, so hold on. So you're telling me that there was a purple alien and he killed half of all life, but then a man in a robot suit and a guy who can shoot webs stopped him, but now the guy who shoot webs is a teenager." He's trying to figure out what the hell's going on, but then just as he's starting to get a grip on it, he blips back to his own dimension, and it's just a funny scene.
Okay.
But it shows like that. Okay, that like doesn't even seem to be functioning within the like lore of what was happening. But who cares, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So Morbius in the trailers, there are scenes of Morbius in prison talking with Michael Keaton in prison as Vulture.
Okay.
Right. Okay. Now you say to yourself, wait, is this in the same universe as the other one? That's odd. Or maybe it's just another version of him in another dimension. Whatever. Right. Like Michael Keaton was the stinger in the very first Morbius trailer. Okay. All of the Michael Keaton scenes that were in the Morbius trailers are not in the film. There's not none of the scenes with Michael Keaton are in the film.
Oh.
Okay?
Oh,
all right.
Very good.
Then, at the very ending of the movie, in Morbius's dimension, which presumably is the same dimension as Venom, all right, where there is no Spider-Man, you see the purple light from the ending of the Spider-Man movie, and suddenly Michael Keaton in a jail outfit tumbles into the middle of New York. He has now been pulled from his dimension into Morbius and Venom dimension for seemingly no reason. And he sees a headline that says vampire fight in New York. And he says, right? Okay. So then the post-credits scene for Morbius is Dr. Vampire is driving through the desert in a pickup truck. Okay?
Okay.
Then he hits the brakes because there's some lights ahead of him. And Michael Keaton clearly has not come back for these reshoots, and it's just his voiceover over a CGI double of an upgraded Vulture suit flies down and lands in front of him, and Morbius gets out of the car and walks over, and the guy and voiceover Michael Keaton says, I've been brought to this place. This isn't exactly what he says, but I promise you, this is incredibly close to what he says. Okay? I was brought to this place somehow. I think it has something to do with Spider-Man. Maybe you and I should team up. And then Morbius smiles and the movie ends.
Somehow Palpatine has returned.
I think it has something to do with Spider-Man. You and I should team up. To do what?
To draw in the crowds, baby.
Remind you.
Get that dough, baby.
In this universe, Michael Keaton is not even a villain.
No.
He's a family man who wanted to make some money to help his daughter.
And he actively does not sell out Spider-Man.
And now and Morbius doesn't know who Spider-Man is, because there is no Spider-Man in this dimension.
Well, listen, you're thinking of it like they're villains. Maybe he's like, I think it's we need to team up so we can help this kid.
That's my point. Is the Sinister Six movie is gonna be Morbius and if they can get Michael Keaton back, if they have him on contract, and Venom and three other villains they pull out of their ass are gonna go and fight other villains. It's gonna be like the Suicide Squad again. And I don't mean like when they did the Suicide Squad again and it was good. I mean it's gonna be the original Suicide Squad again, because these movies are nightmares. And nobody knows what's going on anymore. There's no rules.
It's not gonna be the Sinister Six. They're all going. It's gonna be the supportive six.
I was trying to find the word that was in exactly the supportive six.
Hey there, Spider-Man. I heard you had a long day. How about we go get some pizza?
Pizza time.
Pizza time.
They go around and help him pay his rent. They get him his job back. You shouldn't have fired this young man. He's a hard worker. And he just missed one delivery because he's busy trying to get through college. You should cut him some slack.
He's your best worker.
Supportive six. They're all just Spider-Man's friends.
They're just helping him with his daily. Oh man, I'm gonna be late for class. Oh no, Spider-Man, hop on the back of my Vulture jetpack. We'll get you there lickety split. Gee guys, thanks. I don't know what I'd do without you.
You're such supportive friends. You're like the supportive six.
Hey Spider-Man, how you doing? I know your heart's still hurting from your friend that died, but I wanted to check up on you. I want to see how you were doing. Here, I'm coming by. I'm getting some takeout. We can watch some movies. We can just, bro out, dude.
Oh, that's great. That's exactly it. I've been trying to, that's it, the supportive six. That's what I've been looking for this whole time.
That's a movie I want to watch.
That's a movie I want to watch. It's going to be terrible. It's going to be awful. I don't know. Like I said, I want to take the dark universe cast photo and put it on every billboard in LA for as long as for a week, just that everyone has to see it and go, maybe.
No, here you go. This is how you do the movie right now.
Okay.
I'm remixing what I said earlier. Oh no, the crime's happening, but I've got an exam to take, and if I don't show up, I'm going to fail.
Don't
worry,
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
We will
You
fight
go
the crime
take your
for
exam.
you.
We'll take care of this.
We'll fight the crime. Don't worry about it.
We'll fight Thanos. We'll fight Mecha Thanos.
There was literally a storyline for a while, the Superior Spider-Man, where Dr. Otto Octavius killed Peter Parker. Don't worry, he got better because he always do. But he took over Spider-Man's body for a while as a result, accidentally, and he goes, and he instantly experiences all of Peter Parker's memories and understands why Peter did everything that he did. And he goes, oh no, I never should have killed him. He was such a good guy, and I should be a good guy too. And he's like, well, fine. As long as I'm in your body and have these powers, I'm gonna be a good Spider-Man too. But I'll be even better than you were because I'll use all my science knowledge. I'll be the superior Spider-Man. These comic books are stupid.
Comic books are great, dude.
Oh boy. Oh man. I was about to say I can't wait for one of these to really fail and the whole thing slow down, but Morbius just did, and it's not going to slow down.
It's not going to slow down. You're going to have how many consecutive massive failures
What's the Marvel lineup? What are we in, phase 4 or whatever? Widow didn't make that much money, but that was because COVID was still happening and
shenanigans as well.
Yeah, okay. What's phase 4 looking like these days? What's going on?
While you look it up, I got to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, go ahead. Let's see. Okay. Thor: Love and Eternals kind of crashed and burned. I think it made money, but not enough. There's another Black Panther movie that's supposed to come out this year, but it never will because I don't think it's even started shooting because whether or not one of the main characters is even going to be in it was up for dispute for a while. But Black Panther will make money whether it's good or not whenever it does come out. Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, I do not see performing terribly well. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 will follow do fine for itself. The Marvels will have Brie Larson returning to the role of Captain Marvel / Carol Danvers. What else is going on here? Oh, it's just about the various different... Okay, all right, got it. And then Kamala Khan is also going to be in it after she's introduced in the Disney Plus series of the same name. I sucked in a breath of excitement and choked on a bit of spittle when I read Blade. I forgot they're doing another Blade movie. I totally forgot that there's Blade coming, dude.
They're not doing Blade, right?
They're doing a film about Blade. They're doing Blade again. I totally forgot. They announced this ages ago. I forgot about it.
Oh, no. Keep Blade as it is, because Blade... Uh-oh. Sorry, I got too excited. Blade as it is rocks. We don't need... They can't do that again.
There are 700 TV shows coming to Disney Plus. I can't even read them all. There's we'd be here all day. Just reading the names. I wouldn't even have to talk about them. That'd be a whole podcast by itself, just reading the names. Anyway.
Listen, let's just become a Marvel YouTube channel.
Unfortunately,
because if we do that,
the Nerd Crew already did all the jokes.
We got to be serious about it. So hear me out, because it's you really want to draw in the crowd that you say one wrong thing and they tell you to kill yourself.
Yeah,
I think we can really
corner
the
audience
market.
You definitely want to. That's the audience you want to cultivate.
Yeah, I think we could do it. I think we've said lots of things about Marvel stuff right now that would get some of the extremist fans to send us very threatening messages.
All right.
So we're already there.
Well, I think that's plenty of just all over the place for today. I mean, some other things have happened since, but we'll probably be back here pretty soon because we're approaching E3 timing. Stuff's going to be announced. We'll have plenty to talk about. So we can back up to some older items later if we want to. But I think to wrap up today, even though we'll go for a little bit, Joey, would you like to talk about the DLC for Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade, episode Yuffie?
Absolutely.
Well, then I guess this will be I'm just gonna say just for safety, full spoilers on original
Everything.
7 remake, and on Intergrade, just for safety's sake, because we'll probably talk about stuff. So if you don't want to stick around for discussion of 7 stuff or spoilers on 7 stuff, thanks for coming out. Hope you enjoyed the episode. See you again next time. We're gonna get into it now, though. Joey.
Hey.
I haven't played it because I don't own a PS5, but I watched it when it happened. You just played it. Tell me about it.
I have to say that Yuffie might be the most fun character to play in that whole, of the whole, base cast. It's she is so damn fun to play.
And I think that's large. I imagine that's because they designed her knowing this is a
one character
singular
player.
Here. You're not going to be switching around, so we need to make sure that you're changing what you're doing with her enough and that she's engaged.
She's such a good character, so much so that a concern that's popped up in my head is okay, well, part 2, she's going to be part of the team at that point. And it's but she can do everything on her own. So it's it's like any situation where you can pick and choose your party, it would feel wrong to not have her there because she can do everything.
I'm willing to bet that her ability to because she has one of her abilities is to assign an elemental ability or elemental aspect to just her attack just instantly. Boom. I'm willing to bet she will not have that.
Well, even if she doesn't have that, just being able to very easily go from really good physical to really good magic is a boon in itself. Even if you're not hitting weak points.
Why don't you explain just how she plays for anybody who has never even laid eyes on the footage, but assume they know how the hell.
Assuming you know how a remake works. The main thing with her is, of course, she fights with a big old chakram. You find various ones that grant various abilities. Some really weird abilities, but some neat ones. But the general gist of using her in combat is it's okay, run up to weaker enemies, fight with the various really good feeling chaining melee attacks, even launching them up in the air and whatnot. If you want to get away, you can just hold the button down and you will do an attack and then leap really far back. But you can press triangle to send it out to do physical damage to a singular enemy. To throw it, yeah. And it will stay continually attacking that enemy, and while it's away, all of your attacks become magic instead.
Where she's just throwing
ninjutsu magic at whoever you're targeting. It can be the person that's got the chakram on him, or it can be somebody else. And she has an ability to let you just pick the element type, so you don't have to worry about
materia, spells, MP costs. You can just burn an ATB.
Do you remember what the materia was called?
Elemental. You can bind an elemental materia to a fire, blizzard, whatever, on your weapon to give your weapon that aspect, or on your armor to give you defensive against that.
Yes, and it's because of that, you do not have to worry about that at all for the DLC, which makes a lot of sense because that would be cumbersome.
You're building one character over
because the DLC, even take your time is 6-7 hours. It's I took my time and I did virtually everything, and virtually everything. The only thing I didn't do from the DLC was the post game, super hard mode. You have to do this in hard mode, and you got to be a high level to fight Bahamut and stuff.
Yeah,
But the other thing, there's a lot of hidden mechanics as well that I didn't know about until, for instance, the chakram throw. It's certain abilities will actually boost the damage. You know how she has a wind blast, right?
Yes.
Where it's an AoE suck-in? If you throw the chakram at an enemy and then you hit them with that wind blast, it does quadruple damage.
Okay.
I only learned about.
I guess it's because the idea is that the chakram's being thrown around inside of the wind vacuum or whatever.
Yeah, and that makes sense, but the game doesn't tell you that.
Sure.
And so she has a lot of really neat abilities like that. You get some things from weapons where one of them's a weird dodge, but it actually ended up coming in pretty handy because it's I'm about to get hit. I need to cancel out and just dodge out of the way. She has another one that almost feels integral to her kit. I don't remember what it's called. It's definitely something from the Final Fantasy series. But as you're using abilities, a bar fills up, and then it has 2 stages. And after you use a total of 6, it's full, and it is just consume the ATB meter, 1 bar of it to pop this charged up power that has a huge it's a single target.
This isn't her synergy thing that she does with someone, is it? Okay.
No.
I'm not even sure I know what this mechanic is, but you go ahead.
It's off of one of the weapons that you get.
Okay.
And it's called banishment or something like that. Right. But it's just
then I might have missed it because when I watched the DLC, I did around the point that they got to the weapons testing facility, I started skimming past combat because, I was just watching it.
Yeah, of course. But it's really nice because it ends up dealing a healthy chunk of damage. And for instance, if like you're fighting a boss and you end up staggering them and then you hit them with that, it's mega buku damage. Mm-hmm. And it's like, all that is fun on its own. And then you're like, wow, this is really fun, but maybe I'll get tired of it. And then introduce Sonon into the party and press L2, and all of a sudden your entire moveset changes up and you do a bunch of tag stuff.
Yeah.
And that's radical on its own. It's just, it feels great. And the thing is, I actually didn't rock too many of the tag team abilities just because most of the time I was trying to get his abilities up, so I had to let him do his own thing. Mm-hmm. But gameplay was very nice.
Okay, I mean, the thing about the base game is that, like, Barrett and Aerith are fun to play, but only for
specific segments.
And, like, 30 seconds at a time.
If you were trying to play the whole game as them, it would get tiring just because It's a lot of... With Barrett, it's a lot of just do stuff and tank and then heal, and with Aerith, it's a lot of positioning and try to not get staggered all the time.
Try to not draw too much attention to yourself.
Which is hard because you're absolutely slaughtering everybody.
Well, also because the game naturally aggro is drawn to whoever you're currently playing as.
Correct.
So that's why that's part of why the game wants you to jump around so much. Like, I've seen a lot of people complain about the AI in Remake. And first of all, I never really encountered super bad AI when I was playing that. But also, I think you're supposed to be jumping every 30 seconds.
I don't recall people it was one of those things of usually if they were going down, it's because I was fighting something I shouldn't at the time. The only exception to that is I remember there were one or two enemies that had like a black hole ability, and it's like as tradition with most games that have AI, they will just get sucked into it and just eat big damage. But didn't really have to worry about any of that with the DLC.
Yeah, you only got the one partner, and he kind of, by design, stays close to you. And you also probably noticed this, but the bosses and enemies in general, now certain attacks, they have a little triangle of caution indication if it's one of the attack, if it's an attack that can pin you. Which did not exist in base game, though it's been included in if you go play the main game, that's been included now.
That's nice.
And I don't know if this has been patched into all the bosses in Intergrade, but you'll recall that in Final Fantasy VII Remake, when you're fighting bosses, when you hit their next phase, there's a hard damage threshold where if you're performing your limit break and you get the first hit in, it doesn't. The rest of it doesn't count because the enemy says I can't take damage anymore and initiates its next phase. Did you notice that if an enemy is staggered and you pass its threshold in the DLC, it does not care?
So I actually did know about that, and it brought me confusion because it was at the when I really noticed that, it was at the last boss of it, being a very Nomura design character.
Yeah.
But that happened to me because I lost to that fight.
Nero the Sable, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nero the Sable and Weiss the Immaculate. Then there's also Rosso the Crimson and another dude who I don't remember.
There's also the child looking one.
Yes, that's Shelk the
Shelk.
What is she called?
Shelk the Dude Hacker Man.
Yeah, the Dude Hacker Man. That's correct. That's her name.
But
I never count her as one of them, but yes, she is one
Nero
of them.
and Vice were the only ones that were in
Yes, they're the only ones who show up in the DLC.
But
the Dirge characters. Did you watch the Clemson video that I sent you? Okay,
you've
got the Dirge knowledge.
I know. I've got the dirt on Dirge. But no, during that boss fight, that happened where I knocked him down and I was doing a limit. I was like, wait a minute, this is really close to, the next phase. It's like, did I screw up? And it's like, no, it went through and kept doing damage. And then I was like, oh,
yeah, so they've now made it if the enemy is staggered and you're hitting them during their stagger state, their next phase does not trigger until the stagger state ends, even if you push them way past their damage threshold.
Which is a godsend because for how few times I actually got my limit off in the original game, that happened so much.
Yeah.
That happened to me probably 3 or 4 of the fights of that game.
An argument can be made that doing that did let the developers have a tighter control over the pacing of the fights and make sure. And I would say even when that happened, it didn't make the fights unfun or too hard, but it was always frustrating to feel like your strategy was negated in some way, like your control was taken away, like you tried to do this thing you weren't allowed to.
It's one of those things for me where it was the idea of, damn, if I knew if I had more knowledge of this fight going into it, then
if there was if you put little ticks on their health bar that showed where the phases were, then I wouldn't have made this mistake. I would have had all the information. But no. So no, either marking where phases are in their health bars or just getting rid of that entirely. Mm-hmm. Getting rid of it entirely means speedrunners will be able to absolutely demolish some of these fights. But that's fine.
I was going to say, who cares? Because the average player is not going to do that.
I'm willing to bet. I don't know how much of it. I don't know if it's been applied to the entire base game in Intergrade. Like if all the bosses have been reworked to do that. Mm-hmm. But if they carry over this design philosophy to 2, I guarantee you they're going to be bosses where people figure out, okay, if we have Tifa increase its stagger percentage and I stack 3 limits, well, I can skip a phase. Yeah. It's going to happen.
And I hope it does, because once again, this is not something the average player would. All that does, it's only a positive in my book, because what it does is the average player is not going to do that. So content's not lost.
Precisely.
And it adds something for people that are really trying to get their money's worth out of, like, gameplay shenanigans. It's like, okay, I was able. There's always. It's nice when you're rewarded for doing stuff like that. It's like in Dark Souls 3, there's a boss that has a unique animation that you can only get if it dies by not dealing any physical damage to it past the second phase. And it's like, it felt really cool when I was able to do that. And I was like, oh my gosh, there's a unique animation here. It's like, that's neat. It's like, it's just a reward, and you're not missing out on content, because there's no chance the average player is going to do that on their first time.
Yeah.
And the reason I emphasize that is most of the time the concern is, of course, it's like, well, we don't want to make content that a lot of people aren't going to see.
Well, of course, the main concern for most of the time in the Yuffie DLC is Fort Condor.
Oh, of course. So the neat thing about the DLC is it's like all that action stuff is just a side piece. It's really neat, and these characters are kind of cool, but Fort Condor is where it's at. Now, if you FF7 fans out there remember back in the day, there was a weird little peculiar thing that occurred on the mountain.
There was a real-time strategy mini-game in FF7, which we in our playthrough basically skipped until it was necessary, because it wasn't very good.
But you gotta protect the big phoenix, and I was like, that's gonna be weird to come back in the game. I was like, I feel like, because this was speculative a while ago about all the dumb stuff like Mr. Dolphin and stuff showing up. It's like, how are they going to do that? And it's like, in my head, I was like, well, now it's not going to be an optional thing. There's going to be a weird story, little extra go here, and it's going to make less sense and not be so dumb. But no, instead in the DLC, we get a new board game called Fort Condor, and
which you can play with people around town, which feels very much like a we haven't done triple triad blitzball type thing in like 20 years.
Yep.
Let's get back into this.
Yes, it is a game where you pick your board, which your board it's a weird name, but it's for it, but that's just because this is all technically, it's not a video game, these characters are playing a board game, yada yada. But anyway, you get your board, and that's what has your various like passive buffs and your abilities, and you have your pieces that you use to put on the board.
My guns,
my weapons, that you put on the board, and they work like a rock paper scissors. It works more like
weapon triangle, like a fire emblem.
Yes, you got the greens, you got the blues, you got the reds, and it works on Pokemon logic. Fire is good against grass.
Yeah.
And it is your tower defense versus their tower defense. Your units walk forward, their units walk forward. You just got to play better pieces than them and counter their stuff, and it rocks. It's so fun.
I didn't watch enough of it because I was kind of skipping around because it was when it came out, and I just wanted to figure out other stuff. So I only watched a little bit of it. I watched like the first fight, and I didn't really get a sense of the depth of the game or how involved it is.
I'm crazy, but I had such a blast with it. It's one of those like you get to Sector 7 and the Sector 7 slums, and you just
half the town, like almost every NPC you can talk to.
Well, that's the thing, is it's like it's like, hey, here's the crew here, and you chat, and it's like, okay, you can walk around, chat with somebody. First guy I chat to of the 3 that are down there you can talk to, he's like, hey, you ever heard of Fort Condor? I was like, no, what is it? I don't know what I was expecting. This is how stupid my brain is, where I heard it and I thought card game, and I went, oh, I don't like card games. And it's like, And it's like, board game. And I'm like, ooh. And so that happened, and I ignored everything else. And only because you do that and numbers pop up on the map. You see ones all over town. You're like, what's that? Oh, these are the people I can challenge at my skill rank. I'm going to go do it. And I spent all of the money I had, I saved until I went into a shop and they had pieces I could buy. I had such a fun time with it.
And it's like, because not only is it just the NPCs who are around at that point, like Biggs, Wedge, and Jesse, and like Marl, the apartment owner and whatnot, but like Roche is in town because he's looking for Cloud, the love of his life.
So that's the thing is all of the characters, there are probably like 8 people that you can challenge, but they're all people that you've generally seen throughout the story. Like you have Roach, who it's really funny because he's literally looking for the love of his life, Cloud, and because you beat him, Yuffie becomes as worthy as Cloud is.
Okay. I didn't see his response. I never watched his response to being.
Yeah, no, you beat him, and he's like, you. I forget what he calls Cloud, but my friend or whatever. And It's like, oh yes, you are now a part of my crew. You are my friend. We are like brothers or whatever. It's great.
That's awesome. Like, I cannot wait. I'm so confident that the place he's gonna show up in remakes in the future is like they're gonna after spoilers. After the Forgotten City, or the City of the Ancients, right? Yep. And the go downing happens, and somebody gets shish kebabbed.
Yes.
In the original game, there's a weird tonal dissonance where you wind up in the Icicle Town and you go snowboarding for a while, right?
Yes.
I think on one hand, that death is a good place to end a game, maybe. But I think a better place to end a game is you skip you like instead just montage everybody being sad and hiking to the North Crater. And you can't come up with a reason to go back to Icicle Inn and snowboarding in the third game, right? And you actually have the second game conclude with all the weapons being released. Because like Aerith getting shish kebabbed is like sad, but it's not a sequel hook.
Yes.
Cloud being depressed, getting taken over, falling into nothing. What's going on? He lied about being at Nibelheim, maybe, or he thought he was there, but he wasn't. And all of the robots being released, and Cloud and Tifa and Barrett waking up in prison and looking outside and seeing meteor in the sky, and it's gonna hit in a week. Like that's a great sequel hook.
Yes,
but I think that you reposition the snowboarding to be somewhere where it can be goofy, and Roche shows up during that sequence.
Oh my god!
And you're snowboarding for whatever damn reason the game comes up with, and all of a sudden you hear "Hey!" and you turn around and he's on a snowboard.
No,
and he is.
I want him to not be on a snowboard. I want him to be on a
snowmobile,
or even better, like his motorcycle with like
skis just stapled onto the side.
Yes.
He's like, let's see if you can, if your skill can beat my medal, or whatever. If your board can best my medal.
Let's see if your medal can beast my medal.
And then and you have to race him down the mountain. It'll be great. They did say in interviews that they thought about putting him in the final motorcycle escape during the ending. I'm glad that of the first game, that is. I'm glad they didn't, because I don't think the tone was right.
Correct.
For him to show up during that escape sequence from Midgar. If he'd shown up then, like as a weird non sequitur between everything going back there with Rufus Shinra and the ghosts along the way, and then the ending with Sephiroth, if he'd just shown up and be like, "Hey, it's me."
Yeah.
No, not right now. Not right now. We're doing something else right now.
They made the right choice with that.
Yeah, we're in the middle of something else, buddy. But yeah, I will say this, since I haven't touched my hands on it, I can talk about elsewhere. Obviously, I've talked a good bit about in our 7 playthrough how I like Yuffie, but feel that she's because she was an optional character, very underutilized.
Yes.
In 7 originally. But you can make an argument that most of the NPCs are in one way or another underutilized, because there's not many scenes where all of them are there and there's set dialogue,
Yes.
But like, I really like how I love the voice work and writing for her here in the DLC.
Yes.
Where she is
It's so easy to make a character like that annoying, but she did not seem annoying.
She's not annoying.
She seemed childlike, she seemed naive, but I was not annoyed by her.
Yeah, because she's not, despite being clueless and incompetent in some areas, she not only is still good enough at fighting and good enough at like that she's like, okay, she's not like she's not constantly like, she's not making idiot mistakes.
Yes.
Like the only time that she really does something really stupid is there's that moment where they're trying to sneak past a sneaking monster and she's too clumsy and like wakes him up. But like other than that, she doesn't really make mistakes, quotation marks. Even like there's that moment when they're in the elevator with Scarlet, and she's already made them, right?
Yes.
She already knows these two.
Yeah.
But she tries to get a rise out of them, and Yuffie does keep it under control and go, yeah, you're right. I hope that those Wu-Tai assholes get what's coming to them, right?
Yep.
It's like, it would have been so easy for her to go,
what did you say?
and then you're like, Yuffie, come on. Even
no.
if the result is the exact same, which is that they've already been made and it doesn't matter, you at least like go, okay, she's not an idiot. She's not a complete moron. She's at least trying.
And that reflects with her relationship with Sonon, where it's like, it's this guy that she's never really met before. And it's like, it's one of those things like, he acknowledges that she's a kid, and it's so easy to be like why am I stuck with this brat kind of attitude. But no, he plays it straight the whole time. And it's like, yeah, I get it. But you have earned your like, this is not unfounded. This is not just because you are the daughter of the guy that trained me or whatever.
Well, that guy's in prison. Now, we'll talk about that in a second, but go ahead.
But it's like, he still respects her because he respects her ability, even though he acknowledges that it's like, yeah, she's a kid, but he's not. Like I said, it could have been so easy to be like, oh man, this stupid brat. I'm stuck with this brat on this assignment. Yeah. But no, since he shows up, it's like, you got it, boss.
Yeah, you're the ranking officer here, and even though we get little moments of eye rolls where we can see them, like that he is basically taking her as what she's presenting herself as, which is an expert. And you know, even when she's talking about Fort Condor or whatever, right? Because her whole attitude is, I don't know what that is, and they explain it. Oh, right, of course, I remember now. Of course, yeah. I remember now. Yes, my mistake. She has to be the smartest person in the room.
I'm the Fort Condor master, and I made sure she wasn't a liar, baby.
I would not let Yuffie be a liar on that front. But we talked about before it came out, and I talked about it in a video. My theory that she was not actually going to be a spy, because I was like, okay, in the original storyline, Wu-Tai was conquered. Wu-Tai was subjugated by Shinra, and a large part of the tension with her was that she thought that her dad, who was the leader of Wu-Tai, and the other elders had sold out. Which part of the tension of that I always thought was interesting, the way that it fed into what that game is already doing with identity, is that like she has this like reverent vision of unmolested Wu-Tai that she's too young to remember. Right. Like there's in freaking Crisis Core, one of the opening things that happens is the final battle to take over Wu-Tai that Zack participates in, and there's a brief Yuffie cameo because of course there is, and she's like 8, you know? Yeah. Like she doesn't know what the hell the country used to be. No. She's like, the entire time that she's been cognizant, they've been at war and probably and in trouble, and she was not old enough to understand what any of that actually looked like. And part of the tension of that is her challenging her dad's attitude, and like, you know, the reason she's running around and trying to steal stuff is because she's got this 16-year-old mentality of, if I get something of value and bring it to our country, then that'll help to restore national pride and stimulate our economy and blah blah blah, right? As soon as they're now at war, she has a lot more to do while still being interested in the same stuff and having the same characteristics. But I was left to go, okay, presumably if we're keeping most of her stuff, she's got to have tension with her dad. And her dad's the president, is the head of Wu-Tai. Not literally the president, but he's the head of Wu-Tai. So I was like, okay, if she's an amateur, which she is, I don't think, and there's tension between the two of them, which I would assume that they would maintain, that there's this kind of like, they don't like each other. Then maybe the new version is that she is told, as a 16-year-old daughter of the most important man in the country, to stay home. And she's sneaking off on her own, has stolen documents claiming that she's an official spy, and she's running stuff on her own, right? Mm-hmm. So I thought that my theory was that she's fake. She's not actually there formally, because Sonon hasn't met her, right? Well, nice to meet you, boss. So maybe there was somebody else who was supposed to be showing up to this, but she intercepted she stole the mission documents and came on her own, right? Like, why is she allowed to go traipsing all the way across the world on her own to do this? Especially since she's good at fighting, but she's kind of an amateur. Yes. Then towards the end of the DLC, Sonon is talking about that that Yuffie's father apparently trained him. Yes. And he says, hey, listen, could you maybe dial it back with your harsh criticism of your father? You are talking about my sensei there. And she goes, yeah, well, whatever. I really don't care. I don't have anything to say to that guy anyway since he was thrown in prison by the new government. So I think the new lore, it's never specified, but it seems like what's going on is at some point during the war, probably he was the leader and he attempted to capitulate. And then there was a coup and he was thrown in prison. Right? And there's somebody else in charge now and that may even be where the timelines diverge.
Right.
On why they're still at war instead of in a ceasefire. Which this makes me question a lot of things of like, okay, it maintains that Yuffie thinks that her dad's a coward. But instead of just like, in addition to her nostalgia for something that she doesn't really understand, she's now literally out there fighting right now to spite him. But I wonder, okay, maybe I'm reading too much into it and I just want my theory to still happen. I'm thinking this mission that she's been sent on is completely insane. To go and infiltrate the highest echelons of Shinra headquarters to steal some materia.
To steal something.
Not to like, assassinate President Shinra or even Heidegger or Scarlet. Like if you've got this plan to go and infiltrate it anyway, this just seems like an odd plan and surely you've got someone more qualified. Sonon would be just as qualified without her there. Just send him the marching orders. And I think about how the whole base of Final Fantasy VII remake is Shinra is fanning the flames of public sentiment with false flag operations to be able to sell the public on we need to go in and we need to go and reignite conflict with these guys and get people enthusiastic about it, right? And now I'm like, okay, what if Wutai wants the same thing? What if they wanted Yuffie to get caught?
Right.
What if she's the daughter of the former president that they don't like? And they kind of just want her out of the way. They kind of don't want her around, but they know that she's very valuable. What if they can say, oh my God, you guys, Shinra has killed and or captured the daughter of the former president. And this is to then inspire zeal on their end, right? Of this disaster that's happened. And maybe even disavow that she was even there on their orders or whatever. Who knows? I mean, this is just me playing around and thinking, but it's entirely possible that she was sent because in this world it's perfectly plausible to send a 16-year-old ninja to try and steal a rock from someone's basement.
I was going to say, I was trying to justify that in my mind, and the only thing I can come up with is like, well, her actions kind of speak for themselves and that she is very competent at what she does.
Yeah, no, she is.
That's the only thing that has going for it that makes it kind of logical in any capacity. Otherwise, it is just a weird situation.
But that was why I gravitated towards that with the original trailers of like I'm here to steal Shinra's ultimate materia feels so much like a self-assigned Yuffie mission, not official marching orders. But it remains to be seen. The fact of the matter is that the narrative of Yuffie DLC is, I'm not gonna say flimsy, but it's not important. It's really a combat gauntlet and some new content and just here's some fun to have while you're waiting for the next one.
Here's some fun to have, and also here's another break the boxes mini game.
Yes, more break the. I did see that there's a break the boxes mini game in Scarlet's Funhouse.
To get the max reward, you have to break every box in it. That is what taught me that the throwing
does the quad damage.
Yes,
quad,
because I got to a point where I was like, this isn't possible. I'm missing something. And so I looked it up, and the guy was like, the key to it is this because it does more damage. Watch. I was like, oh, it pops the boxes instantly.
So you learned that just in time to be able to melt Scarlet in her mech and Nero then.
Yes. Although while it does good damage, those fights are still formidable enough, or at least have enough health.
Dude, I think that I told you about it at the time, but when that trailer released and it showed the Sonon and Yuffie fighting people, but you can't quite see who they're fighting, and then it goes, who are these guys? I don't know, they just showed up out of nowhere, and then it cuts to a shot of two deep ground soldiers showing up. I popped off. I tweeted, you know that meme image of it's like a bad illustration with crayon of Candace from Phineas and Ferb kicking the door down. Mom, holy F! Right?
Yes.
I tweeted just the screenshot of Deep Ground and that screenshot.
I don't remember exactly what I asked you, but it was something along the lines of, like, so what extended lore are these assholes from?
Yeah, what are they from? And I mean, and I think that you probably got this sense too after watching Mr. Clumps's video on Dirge and understanding Dirge a bit more. It's like, I think them showing up is completely inoffensive. Because they're kind of nothing characters in the first place. Just Square, like the Shinra had a division. It was down of really illicit. The public cannot know about this human experiment.
As long as
soldiers.
As I was gonna say, I hope they kind of not necessarily downplay, but change the lore in that it's not another like city of of them. If it is just we got a few of them in this tucked away in this place, and I mean it would, as long as there's not too many of them, it would make they can hardly control these people anyway, so it would make sense if it's like we're not deploying them.
Because really the only thing that was insane about the lore of Dirge with their involvement was like that they didn't get deployed the fight weapon. Yes. Right, like to say in Dirge I forgot the excuse is that Rufus was probably never briefed on them.
Yes, he was never told.
And then it was so hectic after that with him trying to steal Sid's one-man snub plane. Nobody ever thought to mention to him, hey, you have this side army that you don't know about.
By the way, we could turn the tides.
Yeah, but
all you gotta do is press this button, this cage release button, on this edgy group of 13-year-old bait.
But it's like we've got absolutely bait. But like we've got. I think you'll agree that while. I mean, I don't think there's a bad boss fight in Final Fantasy VII Remake. I think they're pretty much all really fun. Even like the not that memorable ones. Like you remember that the crab warden you fight in the train railway, not the train graveyard, but like when you're on your way to the second reactor bombing.
Yes.
They make the joke about what did that one look like? Looks dead now. Right?
Yes.
Like, even that boss fight's, not memorable at all, really. But it's like, yeah, that was a fun fight.
Yeah.
That was fun to play. But I think you'll agree that, for the most part, the best ones in that game, other than, Hell House, obviously, are one-on-one fights.
Yes.
Like, the Rufus fight...
Is it phenomenal?
And the Sephiroth fight are both insanely high quality.
Hell, even the Turks, too, because it's not an individual
fight.
Fights are
the Turk fights are good, too. The Turk fights are really good. And so I'm like, you know what? You'll fight the Turks again, but I don't see a fight against Heidegger being super enthralling.
Yeah.
So I'm like, you know what? Screw it. Break Nero out for some DLC.
Break the glass for cool boys to fight.
Precisely. Because all it is in that bit when they parachute into Midgar late in Final Fantasy VII, to shut down the cannon or whatever, right?
Yeah.
All you need to do is just, in addition to, they send, because in there you fight a big robot that has Scarlet and Heidegger in it. That's their ending, if you don't remember. They're in a big robot called the Proud Claude, and you beat it, and it explodes, and they Team Rocket blasting off again and disappear, and they leave the story.
Good.
Actually, you can see the Proud Claude in the Yuffie DLC.
Is that what that big robot?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. People have done head-to-head comparisons. There's minor changes and updates to the design, but it's literally that big. You keep seeing parts of a robot they're building.
Yeah,
it's the Proud Claude, which is the final robot boss of.
Yeah, when I was seeing that at first, I was like, "Is that the Airbuster?" I was like, "No, that doesn't look like the Airbuster. What is this?" And I was like, whatever. In my head, I was like, "I'll fight it in a little bit," but I guess I'll be fighting it.
You'll be fighting it
in a lot of bit.
The final boss of hard mode. After you do, when you're doing all of Chadley's tasks, the final boss you fight is a robot called the Proud and Joy prototype that is like a smaller. It's like you can see the Proud Claude design elements in it, but it's like an earlier model. But yeah, no, you literally you can see the parts of the Proud Claude being constructed and during the Yuffie DLC, and you will absolutely fight that. We'll absolutely fight that in the third game or whatever.
Heck yeah.
But yeah, throw that in there, and then also when they're like, oh no, Cloud and friends are coming to disrupt the canon. Freaking let Rosso the Crimson or whatever her name is out and have a boss fight with her. Who cares, right? It doesn't matter. She's just a person to fight. They don't they never had a story to begin with, any of those Spiets.
Those jobbers.
Yeah. So I don't mind their inclusion at all. I think it's fun. But anyway, and it also, in this instance, since Nero is, we fight him, but he still lives, I think he gets to be a rival revenge fight for Yuffie, come future game because he kills Sonon. And when I was on with the Night Sky Prince, he talked about, I don't think they're actually done with Sonon. And I was like, yeah, I think there's probably during that final boss fight with Nero, there's going to be like he's going to come back.
He's going to shove him out of the shadow
like
realm.
in a Yuffie, kill me please kind of capacity, right? Or he's being puppeted around or whatever.
They keep forcing me to play these card games. Please, you gotta put me on.
They keep making me play Terra Master in the FF9 dimension. I want to play Triple Triad, but they won't.
They won't let me out of here until I beat them in First Soldier, but I'll never do it.
I've never gotten a Victory Royale.
I've never been to Winter Chicken Dinner.
I have to play it on my phone. My fingers just are not good on the phone. If they just would put it on PC or console, I'm sure I could win.
I was a PC gamer, but even my phone is still a flip phone. I don't know how to use these things.
Oh boy. But yeah. I mean, overall, I haven't had an opportunity to talk about that DLC on the show, and you've just recently played it, so it was a good opportunity to be able to talk about it. I think it was a nice little package. It
was.
The narrative was nothing too deep or enthralling, but just a little, it's just like the game is so fun. Like 7 Remake is legitimately just a fun ass game to play, and like you said, Yuffie is apparently really really fun just on her own.
Well, it's because you can't switch to anybody else. It's neat going into every encounter. Like every encounter you go into, you immediately know I have all the tools I need right now.
Yeah,
it's like don't
they give you like the double AP stuff like instantaneously? So it's like, just go ahead and get your stuff. Like just go ahead, and they give you a bunch of material right up front. It's it's neat, and I anticipate we will get a very brief trailer for 7 Remake at some point. Probably E3 timing as well. It'll be a nothing trailer of like Cloud walking out and looking at a field and 2024 or whatever. It'll be nothing, but we'll see it. I think
we'll see it, and you'll go, oh my god.
We will lay eyeballs on it, but I think that's about all that can be said about it right now.
Coming to the cloud.
Oh my god. Cloud is coming to the cloud. That's what it's gonna be. It's gonna be a shot of Cloud, and then it pans up to the clouds. This is Cloud Gaming. This is not a commercial for Final Fantasy VII Remake. It's for a new business.
It's going to be Cloud, and it zooms out, and it's a card, and he's on a card, and then you realize it's an NFT of Cloud
that you can only purchase via the cloud for the new Triple Triad game that's only powered by Cloud Gaming. It's a unique experience only possible through the cloud. Yeah, overall, it's a good that Yuffie DLC is a fairly good time. It's just like I saw some, like I was telling people when it came out, like because there wasn't a lot of stuff on the PS5 at launch, and there were some people who were saying, should I get a PS5 to get Integrate and play the Yuffie DLC? And as much as I liked it, I was like, if you're not getting a PS5 anyway, don't buy it for this. It's like 6 hours and it's mostly combat.
I was going to say it's 6 hours. Shave away 2 of those if you're not struggling to fight Wedge and Chadley at Fort Condor.
I was so happy that you didn't know about Chadley's secret identity.
I did not know about our little
when you were talking
boy.
About when you were
our,
talking
our
about
real boy.
When you were talking about Chadley being the Grand Master, I was like, oh yeah, dude, of course he's the Grand Master. Hold on, wait on a second, Joey, because you did not finish hard mode.
No.
Before because you had your PS4's saves got corrupted.
Yep.
So even though you've ported everything over to PS5, you didn't start you'd have to basically start from the beginning.
Yes.
For a main campaign playthrough to then start on hard mode again, which was didn't want what you wanted to do right now. But you can play the DLC right now.
Yes.
So I found out that I was like, I thought for sure I would have told you, but I didn't. That you did not know about what happens when you beat all of Chadley's riddles and challenges.
I did not know about Chadley's dark secreto.
And when Chadley reveals that he was an android design,
it's an incredible interaction.
And then he starts like bleeding pixels. Like the weird hologram stuff is coming off of him, like he's Nominee about to be deleted.
Exactly.
As he explains, I'm an android, but why are you putting out hologram effects? And he's like, Cloud, through the experiences that I've had with you and observing you, I've grown so much, and I believe that I am now capable of breaking free from Hojo's control and being a real person. And Cloud says,
cool.
Cool. It's just like it's such a perfect interaction, dude.
It's so good because it's the most absurd thing you've heard in the entire
game, and there's a lot of absurd stuff in Final Fantasy VII. It's maybe the most absurd, not necessarily like in universe, but from our perspective as an audience. I mean this sincerely. Maybe the most ridiculous thing in the entire game, not because it's unbelievable, but because it's so stupid that they would bother to do this. And we're finding, and Cloud is finding out that lifelike androids, lifelike, I put in quotation marks, Chadley, are real. And it's just cool. Because he doesn't care, because Cloud doesn't care.
No.
He's never had any attachment to Chadley other than the materia he could extract from him.
Chadley is pouring his robot heart out to Cloud, and Cloud's just like, okay.
But what's perfect about that is that also encapsulates his interactions with women.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, Earth. Cool. Yeah. Whatever. You're an orphan. Neat. Oh yeah, Tifa, your parents died too. Yeah, I was there for both of them actually. That's cool. Whatever you say. Did you see that whole thing where people thought that Square said that Tifa had Wolverine adamantite bones?
No. Wait,
what? Okay, so there was a light novel released like 5-6 months ago, and it was probably mid last year. It was a light novel written by Kazushige Nojima, who was the lead writer on 7 and 7 Remake, and he wrote up a it was a light novel split into 2 halves, and it was basically like it was just Tifa backstory and Aerith backstory. And Tifa in universe doesn't really remember what happened to her when she tried to go over the mountains and fell off the bridge and Cloud tried to save her, right?
Yeah.
She doesn't really remember that. All she knows is that the adults told her Cloud's no good, don't be around him anymore, right? So basically there's 2 sections to the book. The first one is while they're walking to Calm, as is seen in the new ending of Intergrade that I know you haven't played through it to see it, but I showed it to you when it came out, where they're just like hitchhiking on the road.
Yes.
As they're walking along toward Calm, they're like, "Hey," Aerith is like, "So Tifa, we don't know each other that well. Tell me about yourself. Where are you from? What's going on?" And we mostly then progress into flashback of her childhood, interactions she had with the other boys that she used to hang out with, her increasing interest in Cloud, and then kind of her perspective on when Cloud asked her to come out to the water tower to tell her that he was leaving, et cetera, right? Eventually, it gets into a lot more like personal detail about her, like what's going on with Cloud, what are these feelings that I'm feeling. But there's a bit where like it jumps back to the modern day and Barrett's like, "Hey Tifa, you zoned out there, what were you saying about a thing that happened like 50 pages ago?" So like we learned that she didn't share any of that with everybody else. And it talks a bit about, very briefly, she doesn't go into the details, but about like Sephiroth coming and blowing up Nibelheim and everybody dying. And you'll recall that we see clearly in Original 7 that Sephiroth gives her a big old slash.
Yes.
With the Masamune. And presumably, since Zack and Cloud were incapacitated, I think it's stated directly in FF7 Original. It was then shown in the Last Order OVA, because there was an OVA animation circa like 2005 of the Nibelheim incident.
Sure, why not?
That her martial arts master, Zangin, or whatever his name is, found her and helped and carried her to safety. He could not also carry Cloud and Zack on his back, so he left them there. He was focused on Tifa because she'd been gut slashed and needed medical attention. So basically, in this, all it says is like, okay, so when you have a bad surgery, like you get really badly injured, you may have like, in reconstructive surgery, it may be that wire is like put inside of you, right? Like, so basically, a number of her ribs were damaged, and she has like metal supports for her rib cage now because of how badly she was injured. And we can't see the scar because she had really good plastic surgery afterward. Sure. Which I wish they just left the scar. Honestly, would have been better. But they basically, whatever. It's already happened. We're not going to give her the scar. And they,
you cannot blemish the waifu.
Well, they basically said that it was part of her backstory that she didn't like pay for that. That basically a slumlord doctor did that and marked it up further. And that she was crazy, super deep in debt, which is part of why she gets involved in Seventh Heaven and other stuff in the first place and other things. A big chunk of the story is about how basically she was big conned by a corrupt doctor who helped to fix her up and then did more than he needed to. Right. Basically, when translations of this were coming out and it was being like fan translations so she's got some metal in her body. People thought that like they were saying that she had surgery to get Wolverine metal skeleton. And like, is Square retconning that the only reason she's a good martial artist is because she's Wolverine bones? It's like, what is Square doing? This is insane.
That is. No, I have not heard about this.
I skimmed like some of the like basic outlines of translations at the time. And then like a week later, I saw people on Twitter freaking out about how they were ruining Tifa by giving her metal bones. I was like, what the hell is everybody talking about?
That sounds like gaslighting. That sounds like bait. Like the first.
It sounds like a bit. It sounds like somebody did that deliberately to screw with people.
It's one of the 4chan plots where they would put out the infographics where it's like, oh, you want to extend the life of your battery? Just put it in the microwave for 10 seconds.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, I just thought of that thinking about 7 content that there hadn't really been much other than the Yuffie DLC, but there was that. Tifa getting metal bones.
Cloud, I'm sorry I could never love you. My
bones are metal.
My bones are metal. They're not calcium like you. We're too different.
We're too different, Cloud, you and I.
You
have Genova cells in you.
I'm a senator.
I'm a senator.
I'm an Italian senator, Cloud. It'll never work.
That was big FF7 news, of course. I forgot about that. Mr. Strife, are you the woman in Miss Lockhart's video? Are you the man in Miss Lockhart's video? No comments.
Vine sauce Vinny when that happens. He put out a video where he's like, I gotta talk about the big news, and you hear like the Pizza Time music playing, and then the waving Italian because he's part Italian, and he's like, as a New Yorker Italian, I dub her an honorary Italian.
It's a me, Tifario. Oh man. Oh boy. Alrighty. Well, I think that's it for today, ladies and gentlemen. I think we said our piece on the DLC. So that's it. I don't know when we'll be back. I do think, if I recall correctly, I think everybody is going to be busy E3/Summer Games Fest timing. So if nothing else, we'll probably be back for a research log afterwards, like we were last year, instead of covering everything as it happens.
But then again, because no E3, timing for all these things might end up being wonky.
So. Summer Games Fest is landing on the 9th.
The 9th?
I think. And the Microsoft one is like the 10th or 11th, whenever it usually is.
Okay.
Laboring under the assumption that Sony doesn't be a complete weirdo and place it like a month in one direction or the other, I'm willing to bet most of it's going to be clumped up around that same time. But we'll see what happens.
Will Sony be able to make a halfway presentable presentation
No.
this time?
No, they can't. They can't.
Just copy Nintendo.
To be fair, Microsoft can't either. They've completely, like last year's, everybody's lost it. It's all bad. The Summer Games Fest is actually, Summer Games Fest and then like Day of the Devs afterwards is actually like the most digestible one of these I've seen in a while. It was like, yeah, that was fine. That was good. It's just like, they showed me some cool games and gave me information and we got through it quickly.
Oh boy. Well, I guess we'll have fun with that.
That's all, folks. See you next time.